Gather around, freaks. We're gathering forest freaks. One with horns that eats you. Ones that are goopy and oozing. Slimers and gross glistening globs. Don't let the skinwalker take you. So gather around the interdimensional internet campfire. Gather around the Undertaker's internet radio, because it's time for another spine-tingling episode of Hey, did you see this one?
There's something in the woods. Something between the trees. Something in the dark. Underground. Beneath the water. Something in the sky. But what could it be? This month, Hey, did you see this one? Invites you to stare into the glowing green eyes of mystery, into the mouth of a fanged beast, to hold your breath as you break through the surface, because something is chasing you, and it might just be a crazy cryptid.
Welcome to Hey, did you see this one? The weekly review reaction roundtable discussion podcast where we just have to ask the question, hey, did you see this one? On this show, we take a film and completely pull it apart, leaving no stone unturned. We're your co-hosts. I'm Antlers R. Phillips, joined as always by Stephen Boba Blackfly Waters. This is episode 195, and if you're playing at home, it's season 3, episode 96, I believe. All will be revealed when we get to episode 52. Spoilers, I'm just going to stop having seasons. I just needed to... Yeah, spoilers.
Wow.
I think you'll be okay with that. It is.
I don't even know what season we're on right now, and you say it every episode. So.
Season 3, buddy.
Okay.
Big changes are coming, and by big changes I mean it's going to be exactly the same, but with more us all the time. The longest episode you've ever seen, possibly. This is, of course, Crazy Cryptids Month. We are covering the spookiest monsters that could or could not exist, and this week we're talking about the film Antlers from 2021, and returning to the show, star of stage and screen, or just screen?
Most stage nowadays. I started my career on stage, but I've transitioned roughly 6 years in. So
you can see him fly through the stars in shows like Star Trek and a bunch of kids shows too. I think you do, and family sitcoms.
I have my own show. Yeah, I have it's Popularity Papers on YTV. If you're in the States, I'm also in Law and Order Toronto. I'm in Surreal Estate. I'm in Murdoch Mysteries. Yeah,
amazing.
It's a new Matlock. I remember.
I am in Matlock.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the strike kind of moved production from Toronto to LA, so they had to replace Marcus, my character, with a new driver for Matlock. But
you're the original driver.
I am the original
Yes.
driver and actually had to drive Kathy Bates, which was a lot of fun. And I am so glad I didn't accidentally crash the car and kill her.
Well, welcome back to the show, Michael Chan.
Michael Chan.
Yes!
Or John Claude Van Chan, as I like to call you.
Oh my god.
I'm out. Okay, that's been our show for this week. We have to do it eventually.
I have to ask you about your background. So you two have horns and I don't. So does that suggest you're horny for me?
I didn't even I hadn't watched the movie when I made that yet, so I
You
didn't
could have given me horns too. Now I feel left out.
I wasn't sure how you'd feel about the horns, so I was like, I'll just not do.
I'm horny all the time, so come on.
Okay, that's definitely our show for this week. Yeah, well, welcome back, Michael. It's been too long. I think you were here for James Bond month in the fall last year, but let's try to make it sooner.
wasn't it Rollerball? You were there for Rollerball.
More movies.
Oh, Rollerball. Well,
you
also
right.
do
Yeah, that thing.
That thing, yeah.
You also do the
a pretty great episode. So
you also do the podcast here on the United Federation of Podcasts, Heard Sound Must Investigate, which is great. It's on brand for this month too, so we'll have you plug that at the end of the show, and that's great. But at this time, I think it's time for a brief synopsis.
Zardoz
there he is.
Speaks to you. He demands you synopsize this film. Tell him how, why, who, what occurs in this film.
Oh my goodness, Noel. So if you've been here before, you know we do a brief synopsis at this time. I think Steve, are you prepared to give us a brief synopsis of this film?
I am. So the movie Antlers is about a young boy and his school teacher. They live in what used to be a successful coal mining town. It's now sort of past its prime. It's in disarray. It's slowly sort of evaporating in terms of both community and spirit. Everybody seems sort of downtrodden. But this little boy, clearly there's something going on with him, and his teacher is overly invested, or maybe not overly invested, genuinely concerned, and she takes it upon herself to investigate what's going on with this boy. But little does she know that it's not just a bad home life, which she thinks is a mirror of her own existence in the past. She had a terrible upbringing, and a lot of bad stuff happened between her and her father and her brother and her mother. It's not fully kind of delved into in the movie, but we can fill in the blanks ourselves without having to get too grim about it. But what she discovers is that this little boy is living in squalor. His house smells like death. And upon investigating and getting others to investigate the home, they realize that it's much more than just a poor home life. It's a supernatural event because this boy is basically taking care of his brother and father, who have been infected by some sort of mysterious creature. And, we will spoil this in our discussion, but it turns out to be a really horrifying monster. But yeah, that's more or less the plot.
And interestingly, I thought that the monster that has horns in the opening video was the Antlers monster. It's not. The monster in this is so much more horrifying, including a man's face as its own face, but it's a hanging skin face.
Actually, the monster in that clip in the opening video is also quite horrifying when you get a good look at it. Just to be fair, to give that movie credit, it's called The Ritual. It's very good. I wanted to do it, but we did Antlers instead. And you know what? Both Wendigo movies, both good.
Awesome.
But we're talking about Antlers today.
That's true. Let's talk about our brief history with this film.
All right.
A brief history.
Michael Chan, Mr. Michael himself. Do you have any history with this film besides other than you watched it this week? You
No.
picked it. I gave you a list. You said Antlers with like little to no
I picked it
hesitation.
specifically because I was like, I wanted to see this. I had purchased it on streaming and never watched it. So I was like, you know what? This is a good excuse to actually make use of the money that I spent instead of having it waste away on my in my library forever. Am I flipped, or like, can you read my background? Or
We can
is
read it. Yeah, it's good.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not sure which. On my end, it's backwards. But anyways, that was it. I was very curious. I've heard mixed reviews from people I know about it, and I was like, you know what? I really want to jump in. So I watched it and finished it literally 5 minutes before I popped on here.
Yeah, you were messaging me kind of all week to be like, I have
18 sittings.
family things I have to do, so I can have to watch it in 10-minute increments. And it's funny because I typically watch a movie in like 2 parts. That's beyond the pale. That's incredible that you did it that way. If that's how you have to do it, I mean, it's all good.
Everything out.
I mean, I can excuse you. You have children, but there's no excuse for Jason. Tell him every week. Can you just sit down and watch it?
Just because you don't have kids doesn't mean you don't have a life, right? I get it.
I guess true. I have no life. I watch movies all the time, and I enjoy them.
I'm just trying to be nice here. Stop ruining it.
But I mean, well, I guess I'll just pick up where you left off. I also had never seen this movie, but it is one that was on my radar as well. I do like monster movies. I was a monster boy when I was a kid. Everything in my life was monsters. I considered Star Wars a monster movie when I was a kid. The cantina scene, the Wampa in the second one, all of Jabba's palace, those are just monsters, right? So anything that Guillermo del Toro has his hands in, I'm interested in, because I think that he also is just like a big monster guy as well. I'm not sure how deep his involvement was with the making of this, but it does feel like it could, in some semblance, it fit into the world of Guillermo del Toro's filmography, just in terms of visual style. But I had never seen it, and it was one of those things that, like yourself, Michael, it's been on my radar since it came out. I just I kind of forgot about it, and I never really heard anything good or bad. So it was just one of those things that I'd rather watch a really bad movie and know that I'm going to have a good time making fun of it in my mind or with the people I'm watching it with, or something that I know is going to be really, really good. So it just kind of kept sliding down the list of like things that I'm going to watch. So I am appreciative of us being able to cover it this week, because I really like this movie a lot. I thought it was great.
I just wanted to say that I'm on IMDb, and it says that Guillermo del Toro and David S. Goyer are producers, with executive producer Nick Kantosca. So
yeah, what I meant to say is like how deep he is. Yeah, like how involved was he in production? Because sometimes he's very involved, right? When it's a Guillermo del Toro production, like he'll be there, he'll be giving actual notes, he'll be expositing his wisdom to the people that are making it. But other times, like you said, he'll just like toss him some money and be like, I trust you, do whatever you want, but it has like a Del Toro vibe to it, which is either by design, or he just, that's one of the reasons that he greenlit it to begin with, is because like this feels like something that I would like to make, so go ahead and do it. Jason, how about you?
It's similar to you guys. I was aware of this movie. It came out in 2021, so it didn't come out that long ago. But I had assumed it was a reindeer, like a Christmas thing. I just saw antlers and made an assumption. Obviously, completely wrong. But I did just watch it this week. But what I will say is that's right. When I
sorry, my imagination's going wild right now with evil reindeer attacking a whole
Rudolph the blood-nosed reindeer. He's got like dripping snout. Anyway,
I'm surprised he's not in the Blood and Honey universe. It's not really
yet.
But what I will say is I didn't know, even while watching the movie, until what's his name, Greene comes on and basically explains that it's the Wendigo. I had a visceral reaction because my wife's grandmother lives in northern Ontario in a place called Rainy River. In the summertime, we would traditionally spend her summers in this kind of like cabin, this like summer home cabin by the beach. And we went up there about 8 years ago. And I'm not the strongest swimmer, but at the time I was like, I got this, and I was going to try to swim around this peninsula. Okay, I was going to try to swim around this small peninsula, and I vastly overestimated my ability to swim. I got stuck. Madison had to come out and sort of guide me back to shore. Or I might have drowned. So when we get later that night, I get to talking with the grandmother, Alma. And she basically reveals that the Wendigo tried to get me because it is, it's a pretty common lore in wooded places and in northern United States and northern Canada. So as soon as I heard that this was a Wendigo tale, I had I suddenly locked in. So that's my brief history with this, with the idea of Wendigos. But also, this movie is kind of like special to me now because of that. And also, I had a very good time watching it.
Good.
The Wendigo almost got me.
The Wendigo got you. I think you told that on the pod before, but I'm glad that this movie made sense this time. I can't remember how you told it last time, but I remember being like, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? But this time, definitely. I didn't know it was a Wendigo either. Until I had my suspicions because I love all of like North American monster lore as well, and different types of cultural lore that spreads across North America and South America, especially. But I'm glad because last week, if you were watching last week, I didn't particularly like the movie we watched, and it was covering one of my other favorite wilderness monsters of North America, which is Bigfoot, and I like the fact that they got sort of creative with the narrative, where it wasn't too heavy in certain directions that borders on offensive. But typically, I don't really like that Van Helsing sequence. I call it the Van Helsing sequence. It's like when Van Helsing sits down and explains to everybody what Dracula is. It's like, Dracula is vampire. Whatever.
Exposition dump.
It's there specifically to guide the members of the audience who don't know what's going on to conclude what it is, and to make it very clear that this is what they're dealing with. And if you've ever heard that word before, it'll immediately click with you. And if you haven't, maybe it'll spark some sort of interest to learn. I don't know if it was needed, but I don't think that it was like particularly egregious, where it's like bordering on offensive.
I figured it out as soon as the movie started.
Okay.
when you saw the sweeping forests, misty forest of Oregon, you're like,
that's where it
like
started.
Seattle.
I was like, okay. And then they had the indigenous proverb or whatever, and then the sayings spoken in their language, and I'm like, oh, this is Wendigo. Then they had the hanging bag things, and I'm like, yep, this is Wendigo. And then everything else just solidified it for me. So I was just waiting for people to get eaten, and then whatever the Wendigo looks like, and I assumed that it had antlers to show up.
You're like, oh, it's called Antlers. That's the other giveaway.
Yeah, but no, I figured out what it was literally right at the beginning. Because
I kind of was like, is this going to be a traditional monster movie? Are they taking something from pop culture? Are they taking something from actual lore? Because you never know, right? Sometimes, especially when you're dealing with like Del Toro, where he tries to subvert things, but then other times he's just like completely injects stuff from actual cultures and stuff too, right?
No, it was just sort of obvious for me, so I already knew.
I felt silly.
You didn't need the exposition scene at all.
Yeah.
But like some people would need it because not everyone knows what it is to begin with.
Yeah,
me. But I felt silly because I was like,
even though you almost got eaten by one.
I almost got eaten by one. But also,
you think you do some research after an old woman told you the Wendigo is going to get you.
I believe it.
You didn't immediately.
I believed it as fast as the people in this movie believed it. I was like, yep, that makes perfect sense. Watch it for the Wendigo. Because before that, my only connection to like Wendigos in pop culture were really like the Wendigos in Final Fantasy games, or like RPGs and stuff. So I should have known as soon as they
your lore comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could be in a Slumdog Millionaire situation where all the questions are about that could be found in the confines of Final Fantasy,
even if it's just tangentially like related in some way, you're like, yes, I remember Final Fantasy V covering this at one point.
Yeah, a library of books, Tower of Babel. We can probably go into some production talk. We're moving along at a steady pace.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit.
Sound. Speed. Action!
So I will say, just as far as the box office goes, what I have, my statistics are, it had a budget of 17 mil. It made 18.8 mil back. It does set up potentially a sequel, maybe not, but there's not going to be a sequel, probably.
Why would they make one? You want to see what's his name come back as a Wendigo?
Jesse
Plemons.
Jesse.
I
Plemons.
like Jesse Plemons.
I don't think it's needed. I don't think that the director would be interested. If it did, it would be like Mimic 2 with no affiliation to anybody involved, and it would just be like a slasher movie. That's the difference between something like this and something that would come after. Is the people making the sequel would probably focus on the wrong details of what made this movie pretty great versus what they think people want out of it, right? I think this movie did like so many interesting creative things that I wasn't expecting, but I immediately got that like, oh, this is going to be probably at least visually very stimulating throughout, just based on the cinematography right out of the gate, where you're like, oh, this isn't stock footagey. This is proper. They've got these locations and they're utilizing them well, and just the way they are framing the kid kind of fucking around, and you understand just from like the visual language of that opening sequence how isolated this town is, both from everything around it and the country at large, even down to the people within it. Right, they're at this factory that is completely removed and almost entirely abandoned, except for these two fucking meth cookers or whatever. But you don't realize that until a few seconds in, where you're like, okay, this is like a run. This used to be the crown jewel of the town, but now it's a place for both drug users and drug makers to thrive. This is what the business has become. Sorry, I'm going into the movie and not talking about production, but I started to get invested right away. And even though I wasn't sure what to expect narratively, I was already kind of invested visually, and I knew that throughout it was probably going to maintain that vibe.
Yeah,
at least that's what I hoped.
That's how I felt too. I think it has a pretty consistent cinematography tone through the whole thing. It doesn't feel like, it does look digital, but it doesn't feel like you're watching a TV show. It does feel like a movie, which is great. Sometimes you'll watch horror, and especially new horror, and it just feels like the same as TV. There's some really great sweeping shots of Oregon. I thought it was Seattle, Washington when they started, especially with the indigenous stuff at the beginning. But no, it's Oregon, and it looks great. The director of this movie, Scott Cooper, I haven't seen. He's only directed a few movies, but the two that pop out to me are Crazy Heart with Jeff Bridges and Black Mass with Johnny Depp. Both of them sort of biopic-esque. I don't think Crazy Heart's based on a true story, but it is sort of adjacent. But Black Mass is based off of Whitey Bulger, state senator, brother of state senator.
Yeah, he's also an actor too, which is interesting. He was an actor turned director.
He played Klansman's son in The Spy Who Shagged Me, which is a funny.
But yeah, I'm not overly familiar with him either. I have seen Black Mass and I have seen Crazy Heart, but they're not two movies that really stuck into my mind to the point that I'm like, amazing. Though I'm not, it's just not my sort of vibe, but I'm sure that there are people who would say that those movies are amazing. I've seen them, and I remember thinking they were good, but I don't remember anything about them. So take that as you will. But when it comes down to the camera work, I think that that's where the movie really shines. But I also do think that the music was really good, but particularly the sound design was pretty killer, because I was having some pretty major problems with the sound design in the movie last week, where I thought that the movie should have shone in that avenue, because they were saving so much in other production costs that, like, why not just put it all into sound? But this one, like, just the little yips and yaps when, like, the kid is transforming, like, all that kind of stuff was where the movie was shining for me. And, like, the gross noises, you know, like the eating of meat and the scraping of bone and like the splitting of skin, all that stuff was
meat
really good.
stuff is the slurping, that stuff was amazing. No, I agree with everything you guys said. It's cinematography is fantastic, editing is fantastic, sound editing and engineering is fantastic. The color, like the coloring of the film, is fantastic and consistent, right?
Yeah, and that's like something that I feel kind of down on a lot these days, is the sort of the coloring of movies and the lighting of movies has, in my opinion, shifted to this realm that it's not unwatchable, but I have a preference, and it isn't what the standard is now. You know, we went to go see Thunderbolts, and there was all this stuff shot in the dark, and I was like talking to my friends around me, Jason and Tim, and I was like, remember when they used to light movies when you could see something in a scene? And this movie has so many moments that are shot in the dark, but they do the appropriate thing, which is like blast light onto the figure of the subject of what the camera's supposed to be focusing on, and then have other things highlight where it's appropriate. Like that shot where he is using the flare, and, you know, he's moving around and you can only see the stuff around you, but you can see these sharp lines and edges, and you can tell exactly what you're supposed to be looking at. And then it cuts to like this very small red blotch at the bottom of the screen as he's emerging from like a hole. And then slowly the whole room is lit by this red flare. And it's all very impactful, and you can tell what you're looking at, which is like my main gripe with movies now, is like, is that a...
Well, last week I told,
is that the Winter Soldier, or is that the shitty Captain America? I can't tell. It's too dark.
Last week I was like, watch Exists at night or in a dark room, and it didn't matter. I watched it.
We can't even compare that movie to
what I want to say
like Thunderbolts.
Is this movie I did watch in a well-lit room, and I could still mostly make out what was happening a lot of the time. But I will say this movie also, like, tonally, you're going to want to watch dark, because it actually shook me a little bit at times. It actually had visceral, gross, bloody horror moments that really affected me, and movies haven't been able to affect me in a while. I really admire what this movie was able to do with its color palette too. Like you said, like it doesn't have a distinct color palette, but the color that it uses isn't washed out. It's all still very bright. It's, you know, I also just read it was filmed in British Columbia, so
that's why all those extras were Canadian actors.
Yeah, that's why Graham Greene is in this movie.
Yeah.
As soon as he showed up, I'm like, oh, it's shot probably in BC.
Yeah, this is most likely Vancouver. Also, the doctor at the end, I'm like, oh, it's my favorite round man from all of my childhood shows that I watched when I was a kid. I'm glad that he's still around. I think he's primarily a voice actor, but he does pop up in things every once in a while.
Well, that does explain why the doctor's voice was fantastic.
Yeah.
He owned that scene.
He did, yeah. He also gave him like a weird, let's see, like grabs his elbow or something, and like, honk honk as he walked away. I'm like, that's
great
such a weird little
manner.
thing to add, but like, it's kind of good. It made us all think about that character way more than we needed to. I'm like, this guy's probably going to come back and get antlered, right? At some point. It's like, no, he was just doing his job, and he did a good
job.
Give
him the entire second movie. Make him the protagonist.
That would be
being chased by.
I remember there was this boy, and he was all dirty when they brought him in, and he was clearly abused, psychologically, physically, everything. And then he disappeared. We never figured out what happened to that antler boy. That's what we called him for some reason. I don't remember why. It was probably in the newspaper.
Then the sheriff disappeared.
Everyone vanished that night, except me.
They made a point several times.
Almost. Oh, I wanted to make a point off your point, Jason, which was the color palette. they pick and chose very carefully, like wardrobe and character versus character. Like, we're going to make sure that this kid has all these very like earthy tones in everything that he wears. Obviously his clothes are full of holes and stuff, but like the color palette that he's wearing is all red, orange, yellow. And then everybody who's trying to save him is all green, blue, and, you know, like aqua tones. And it had this like mega contrast to it that I was really digging. But then especially when the blood starts showing up, you're like, okay, the blood wasn't like Tim Burton red, but it was redder than most of these kind of movies where it's almost like tar black kind of thing. Like the blood was a character, which is in something like this, I think it's important. And I think it did its job. I think it did its job well. Michael, do you have anything that you want to talk about in terms of the production stuff?
I think set design, but that's just adds to what you're saying, right? Like every set they have, every location, they've dressed it up to the point where it feels real. Right, it doesn't feel artificial. It feels lived in. It feels right,
and it also has that like what you're saying. In contrast to like the small town vibe is never abandoned. You know, like whenever they show them in town, there's always that Chinese food restaurant you can see in the background, and then the liquor store lights next to it, and you see that like maybe like 10, 15 times throughout, but they're always in that same little hug, which is like every cottage town you've ever been to, right? Where it's like there's the grocery store, there's the Chinese food store, and then there's the fucking liquor store. And I really liked that a lot because it made me feel like driving through a small town on my way to some other destination or whatever, right?
Yeah. The color palette for Lucas was interesting because, well, his name's Lucas, but there's this video game called Mother 3. It's a sequel to Earthbound. And this is what the sprite for Lucas looks like in that game. And I couldn't help but feel the Lucas in this movie looked like a gritty version of this kid. And his name was Lucas.
I was like, whoa, it's video game Lucas.
Yeah. This is a gritty interpretation of Earthbound, this movie.
I could make it work. I won't do it, but I could make it work.
I mean, I've never played Earthbound, but I feel like even I could make it work.
Yeah.
With little knowledge.
Beyond that, the movie is based off a short story called The Quiet Boy, published in 2019. Scott Cooper co-wrote the screenplay with the people that Michael had mentioned, and it was produced by Guillermo del Toro, David S. Goyer, and J. Miles Dale, according to Wikipedia. So that's cool, and I like that they used its practical effects with VFX over top of it, which
and they didn't overuse. You know what I mean? Like they didn't overdo it.
Yeah,
to the point where it's obvious.
It felt practical when it needed to feel practical, and then the moments that you obviously the movie was pretty low budget, but it feels mega budget to me. Like it doesn't feel on the low end, but it felt really high. You know,
when you told me it was 17 mil, I was like, wait. What, really? They don't typically make movies that low, and this felt much higher, but cool.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping that the times they are changing, you know, where it's like they're gonna start giving movies like, you know, a chance, something that is an interesting tale. And like, you know, this movie goes to show that like you get a good cinematographer, you get somebody who knows lighting, you get somebody who knows how to color correct and have a consistent vibe throughout, have the appropriate wardrobe, and then at the end, the most important, I guess, arguably, is make sure that your performances are believable, natural, and compelling, and then you've got yourself a movie. And you don't need to spend $250 million, you know, unless there's an Iron Man in it or whatever.
Yeah, got to pay those actors $50 million.
It made me. I was genuinely happy watching this movie because I was like, the budget's low and it looks amazing. This is something that like, and obviously the box office is kind of shit for this movie, but the fact that like I'd only heard of it in passing and I didn't hear anything good or bad about it to the point that I forgot about it is it hit me negatively because I'm like, this movie's good, man. Like it really sucks that more people weren't telling me about Antlers because it's enjoyable.
Weren't really allowed to go to theaters when this came out.
Well, yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of movies that are COVID movies that everybody fucking won't shut the hell up about, and they're all crap. But it's like, exactly.
Spider-Man No Way Home is a bad example because I like that movie personally. I think a lot of people did, but that's kind of the example you're.
That movie is the
using in
equivalent
there.
of somebody
Oh,
jerking you off and sticking their finger up your ass or whatever.
hell
That's
yeah.
that's how I feel.
Are we allowed to even say that on here? Cool.
I'll bleep it.
Everybody's hired now. Let's
Listen, I don't hate that movie, but it's not a movie. Like I don't
Yeah.
consider that a movie. I consider that somebody threw a bunch of shit into a blender and forced you to drink it, and at the end you went, "That was yummy." I liked it. It made me feel good in my heart and my
Which
stomach.
one of the Spider-Mans was that?
The one with all the Sam Raimi and Amazing Spider-Man villains are all in it and stuff, and like all the Spider-Man.
Awesome movie, man.
yeah.
I'm just saying it's not a movie. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying it's not a movie. That's what I'm saying. It could not exist unless a bunch of other movies were made. It's not something that you could tell without everything existing around it. You know, it couldn't stand
I
alone.
mean, isn't that what franchises are?
Absolutely, which is why I don't really like them. You know, like I'm just we could talk about this probably for an entirety of an episode, but like I am of the opinion that a movie should genuinely be able to stand on its own for it to be enjoyable, because I don't. This is an old man yells at cloud argument where it's like, I don't want to have to watch 15 other movies to know what's happening in this movie kind of thing. But like, you know,
But then none of the Star Trek movies are actually movies.
I mean, that's a different conversation for sure. But I think that I actually don't really consider the Star Trek movies. I consider them really long and well-produced episodes of the TV show. That's what I consider.
So in reality, we don't have actually a lot of movies out there, in your opinion.
We have so many movies out there, tons, just not ones that get, you know, hours and hours devoted to.
Have you been on Tubi lately?
Have you seen Deathstalker 1 through 5?
That is fair, but I would like to argue that those ones, although you don't have to watch anything else to watch them, I don't know if I want to call them movies. If you're going to not call other movies movies,
all right, fair enough. But this is
they're all movies.
All right, they're all movies. Fine.
I love
They're not good movies. There we go.
I mean, sequels are sequels, right?
Yeah. Okay. This is a very overly complicated conversation we're breaking into that I feel like is going to take way longer, and it's going to retract from the conversation about Antlers, the movie.
Let's,
a movie
yeah,
that is a
Antlers
movie.
is definitely a movie
Stands
by
on its
Steve's
own
metric,
and
so.
doesn't require hours and hours of viewing for you to have a good time.
I agree with that.
You're right.
Spoiler alert. Michael
Also,
hated this movie. Let's get into the body of the episode.
But also, I just want to reiterate, I did like the movie sucking your dick and sticking his finger in your ass. I think that's sometimes a movie does have to do that for it to be good.
I mean, that's a fun time, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a fun time, but it's not a movie.
I mean, it's a really fun time.
All right. Let's back it up and talk about Antlers.
Two
and
pinkies
not
up, buddy.
Spider-Man. I try my hardest to not talk about Spider-Man on this fucking podcast, and we always end up talking about fucking Spider-Man. I don't know why.
And Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And Mother 3. The body of the episode. Steve.
Oh, I left for a second because I had to take a breath. Let's go with the long body.
Everybody back up, because here comes the body of the episode.
Well, sir, we did it. We got to the body of the episode, and I just want to say that whoops, Mother Earth has been pillaged, stripped of her life's blood. A violation that has awakened a malevolent spirit, seeking the lost, the frail, and the depraved. Stop.
Jason's watching the
audio.
movie right now.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, Jason
I just
didn't actually
wanted-
watch this movie.
Just wanted to read this opening bit because it's good. Actually, that's the whole thing.
It is good. What is the last part of it where it's like either
Pray.
you're frail, you're broken or something? Like I can't remember what it was, but it was like pray it doesn't take interest in you or want you or something.
Pray it desires not you.
Desires not you. Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean that's a really good sort of, you know, a classic way to open a movie. You already shake the foundations of comfort, right? By being like, there's something out there and we're not going to tell you what it is, but here's the story of what happened in this sleepy, Little mountain town, we love to make our coal. But the coal industry has collapsed for whatever reason. There's a few moments in the movie where you hear like a radio talking about like, we're going to reinvigorate the coal industry and here's how. And it's like fracking or something. You're like, okay. You've got all these sort of layers of the movie telling you that like this community is holding on for dear life, and unless some sort of like tech company can come in and reinvigorate it and like gentrify the whole city, it's basically just a bunch of people clinging to scraps of existence.
Which we did not need the news, nor did we didn't need the indigenous opening to actually convey. Those are completely pointless.
What
In fact, the entire opening of the movie was pointless because the movie did not delve into any of that, and it's useless.
The indigenous stuff or the fracking.
The idea of taking and angering spirits.
That's actually a good point.
Was never really looked at in terms of what we. Okay, when I saw that opening, okay, this is what I expected. You have an indigenous saying. You talk about the essentially taking from the earth, taking from Mother Nature, taking from things that we should not be taking, and you have it all said in an indigenous language. I expected these things to play a major part in this film. Instead, we got basically a white film of one indigenous actor, a Wendigo, and then and no talk about real actual any exploration of taking from anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, like if anyone wants to really complain that like everything is woke, I'm sorry, this is the whitest movie I've seen.
I mean,
like,
I absolutely agree, because like it almost seemed like any time that we were meant to be thinking about that, where it's like, you know, Mother Nature is mad, nature, like the world around us is mad, it always just shows like a bunch of cut down trees or like, you know, a rundown factory where it's like the implication being that we took and it's all gone now, and we should be scared.
And what pissed me off was like right at the end of the movie, they did like all these shots of cut down trees and the water doesn't look nice. I'm like, but that didn't play into this movie. It's not what it's about. You guys don't care about that crap. You're just putting some stuff in for flavor and not for actual. There's no point.
The irony being that, like, the movie itself is continuing to take from the culture that it's kind of appropriating in order to make this
why
movie.
I got pissed off watching this thing.
That's completely fair. Yeah, I
love. How do you have such a beautiful film? Amazing actors, fantastic performances. Everyone was so good. The freaking monster was fantastic and beautiful and ugly and scary and just you like the whole cultural. I'm sorry, that took it down so far for me. I couldn't come back, because for me these things are important, as you can understand, as someone in the industry and lives this.
Right.
I can't like they are taking the very thing you're talking about. They've done it in this film.
What's wild too is the opening sequence is like these two white rednecks just making meth in a cave. Like the place has already been sucked of its resources. The Wendigo gets pissed off because these rednecks are just in his zone.
So the way I looked at this, which I think I hope kind of supports what you're saying, Michael, is that like these guys are almost like mosquitoes or ticks they're not only like feeding off of the corpse of the culture that's been sapped dead, but they're feeding off of the corpse of the thing that fed off of that original body. So like the indigenous body is being fed off by the white body, and these are like parasites that are even feeding off of that body. And in the idea of the movie, this is how my brain is like trying to justify it, I guess, is that the creature is coming to take revenge, and it's starting with the parasites first. It's going to eat those bugs, and then it's going to eat the body.
Can I point something out?
Of course, yeah.
The two guys making the meth aren't even really the ones taking anything.
No,
They
they're a
are
product of like the corpse, right? The corpse
right,
is
but
dead.
I'm saying, how tragic and horrible is it that the Wendigo, instead of going after actual evil people, like, I don't know, the billionaires who sent all the miners in,
Yeah. I mean, I'd watch that
he-
movie, a Wendigo breaking into a boardroom, like, like just
I
stomping
know,
on a
I know, like,
billionaire.
I'm not saying that that's what the movie should have been about, but like,
Yeah.
maybe pick on, I don't know, middle management mining dude or foreman. I don't know. Just these two guys are the bottom of society, and they are in poverty and trying to survive. One of them has a kid, and you pick on this poor family. Really, like, have they not gone through enough? The dad is so desperate, he has to make meth. And okay,
Yeah.
only later it is like, oh, he's not a good dad, he abused his kid, to justify why, he got chosen. But I'm like, why do you choose these people to
I
pick
think
on?
that
Like, I feel
so
like the Wendigo spirit wouldn't do that.
I was feeling the same way until I realized that, like, much later on, right? Because I'm like, what is going, like, why is it them, right? And then I realized that, like, oh, he's not a bad dad. The abuse that is being projected to us is not. I agree with you on the why is the Wendigo choosing him, for sure, absolutely. But I realized afterwards, like, oh, he wasn't a bad guy, right? He was actually kind of a good guy. When he's being infected, he's the one who creates all the locks, and he's the one who's like,
Right,
don't
yeah.
open this door for any. So like, I completely agree. Like, why is that creature going for him? But I'm also like, did those guys hang up the bags, or were the bags down there from somebody
Right,
else? And
yeah.
like, there's all these other questions that
I
aren't
think it's
really
from
answered.
somebody else.
So
Yeah.
I also have a side thing where I didn't know that this movie was an American made movie this whole time. I thought it was like a Finnish movie for some reason, like just in my head this whole time, because I didn't look up anything about it.
So you looked at it and you're like, it's a Santa Claus movie, and it's pronounced Antlers. It's set in
Antilles.
Sweden.
But even when these relative unknown actors that they might not be relative unknowns, I didn't recognize them. They have very Slavic features, right? And the kid looks the way that the kid looks, and I was like, oh, is that? I thought this was going to be what Michael wanted this movie to be, because I thought this was going to be like a Swedish folktale.
Mhm.
But then they start speaking perfect English, and I was like, uh-oh. And then Felicity shows up, and Jesse Plemons shows up, and I was like,
Also,
oh.
I should mention, this is not an American-made movie. This is a Canadian
Right.
and Mexican joint venture. So it
Okay.
is it's two entities outside of America making a movie together.
I thought it
but-
was going to be Troll Hunter.
Yeah, it's but it is not in any way indigenous, and it is not Swedish. That's for dang
Right.
sure. But we should just, before we get too deep into the meat and potatoes of the issue with this movie, but let's just go through the opening sequence, which is a little kid is he's messing around what looks to be a factory site, and he hears a noise, and he runs back to a pickup truck, and he gets back in as his dad is coming out. And for all we know, this dad is he's about to kick off, clock out from his job or whatever. That's sort of the vibe. But then you notice that he's very dirty. The kid is pretty dirty, and he's putting a bunch of tools, but they don't look like professional grade tools. He doesn't look like he's covered in grease or oil or coal or anything. He looks like he's just kind of skeevy, but he's still being quite nice and fatherly to his son, until he hands him something that looks like a bunch of meth wrapped up in like a bunch of saran wrap. And he's like, put this in the glove compartment. And my brain is going like, oh, he gave him drugs. And then as soon as he goes back in and puts on a gas mask and is using a flare as a torch, I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. What is it? And my brain is like, he's going to go back to the car, and he's going to find that kid like ate a piece of meth or something and died. Like, that's what I thought was going to happen. Different movie, I guess. But like, I thought that maybe something like that was going to happen, where the creature of this movie was going to punish him for being a poor father. Like you're saying, Michael, it's like because that's sort of the idea of the Wendigo, right? Is that like a person transforms into a Wendigo when the literal interpretation, when they eat human flesh. But like, they don't, a Wendigo is not going to go after you if you're a good person or whatever. But like in this movie, it just goes and kills anybody that's near it. I guess it just is hungry for flesh, and if it eats, it gets more hungry and ravenous, and it can't stop eating, and the more it eats, the hungrier it gets.
I would argue that considering who became the Wendigo, if you listen to Jesse Plemons' character Paul, at one point he says about Lucas, he's like, you know what he's going to become, right? Implicating that because of his upbringing, he's only going to end up being something not good, which isn't that what I'm kind of my issue, right? I'm like, you have this essentially generational trauma, right? And instead of having it broken, especially like with the main character lady, she's going to take care of this boy, right? Or try to make sure that he has a good upbringing to turn around. Then what the hell is? Anyways,
it's especially egregious because they both had a crazy upbringing that has damaged them, right? But he's also speaking. Sorry. I was going to say he's also speaking about him like he's a wild animal, in the same way that, you know, white colonizers would have talked about, you know, indigenous children of the era, right? They would have been like, you know, well, look at how they grew up. They're never going to be able to be productive, and they're going to be broken forever. And that was sort of the attitude of the people that oppressed. And like I think like he's speaking from like a place of fear rather than a place of logic, but at the same time he's got the fucking Wendigo in him as well. So it's you're the evil one.
Trying to point out that I think if we want to put any sense to why this particular Wendigo attacked anyone, the way I look at it is that the dad and his family, they're poor, right? Yeah. And I assume,
which means they're bad, according to
this movie. And everyone just assumes they're bad. It's the assumption of the people who are, you know, more well off than them. They look down on. I mean, his son gets picked on, right? Because essentially he's Kenny from South Park.
Because he's dirty and he's got holes in his clothes. Yeah.
So if we want to go the route that he's actually a good dad, then part of his personality came into the Wendigo, and he's pissed off that society looks down on them, and so he's just going after the people that he kills would look down on them. I guess that, if I'm not saying this is what the writer is writing, I'm just saying for my logic, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. He'll go after them.
I was a little confused at the start too, because at the beginning when the two kids are in the truck, it's actually Aiden that gets out and goes into the cave, and I guess he gets. I don't even know what kind of happens here. Does the Wendigo
hold on? The two kids are not in the truck. There's one kid in the truck, and
there's a kid at school. Okay, but it's Aiden who goes in, and then he gets the dad gets attacked.
The dad and his buddy, I can't remember what the buddy's name is. They get attacked by the Wendigo. Frank,
or it's Frank the dad.
I think Frank is the dad, and then the other guy is who's also like a pretty famous actor now, I guess, but I don't know his name, but.
It's not Rory Cochrane because he's from stuff, but
anyway, it doesn't matter. He gets attacked too, and he gets obliterated by the actual Wendigo that's attacking them, which we never really figure out what happens to that Wendigo. I assume that it like dies and it's like seeded one of them.
They talk about how to kill one, and then it says, oh, and then it will need a body to go in. I'm like, did they kill it?
Well, so I'm wondering if when the Wendigo attacked the dad, it had to have like a surrogate, like somewhere to jump to, and that's why Aiden is also affected. But he's just sort of the same, but he's bleeding out of his eyes.
I thought that it turned into the ash because like its heart is like a boiling engine or whatever, and it gives off these sort of embers of fire. And then when one dies, those embers will go into the next vessel. And I think there can only be one Wendigo at a time. That's how I read it. There's always only one.
I also assumed it was one. That's why I was confused about Aiden being infected. But I also
that's why he didn't lose his shit until the dad died, right? Like he's the vessel, or whatever. Yeah.
But I think I was also confused about, did the first Wendigo die?
Like I think that it died. They shot him a bunch, in the opening sequence they did.
So we're assuming the Wendigo got shot through the heart.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, maybe the other guy got killed normally, then as
I mean, normally in
Frank
quotation
was
marks, he got ripped
just
in
like
half.
decap-
And half his
yeah.
body was
They had
Frank is
they had
killing
time.
the Wendigo and it's dying. It's death knell. It passed over, but the kid was there, and I think it's implied that the Wendigo also needs somebody else to pass to if necessary. So I think that's why the kid is like primed for it or whatever. It was a really kind of a difficult moment to just watch, let alone think about what's happening until we have the whole movie go by, right?
So I
Also,
really like
very
this
much
opening
heard
scene.
noise must investigate. I want to just like point that out. The kid just hears something and goes looking.
We should try and get Sawyer Jones on your podcast, the kid who played Aiden. Yeah, I
It
think
does
that
bother me that people still go and investigate. Like, for the love of God.
there's a couple of moments in this movie where they don't go investigate, which I was
Oh,
like,
I know.
yeah.
I'm just
But
saying, when
I was
people-
also, because I had been given your new headline for your podcast. I actually recorded some stuff for it today for the outro,
Oh.
but I was like, this is exactly sort of like the don't go in there, where you're like yelling at your TV. Don't
I
go in
yelled,
there.
"Don't go in there!" at
You
Ellen
can-
later in the movie.
But you can forgive a little kid because he's all alone, and like there's two directions where your dad went and the other direction, which is he's in the middle of nowhere basically. But when teacher goes to the house, she hears the noise. She does not go in there. She goes and she tells as many people as she can. She does the right thing. But then principal goes goes in and gets principally fucked. She gets
Yeah, the whole time with the principal, I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my God, this is my podcast. What are you doing?"
Yeah, you shouldn't have gone in there. But like at the same time, every single thing she does just brings that level of don't go in there higher and higher. Like anytime they do one of these, like,
Yeah,
I'm like, it smells like a corpse. Leave.
because Keri Russell doesn't do that when she goes in. She
does.
reacts to it. I don't think she puts her whole.
But she goes like this.
No, she goes
and
like,
she's- and she's like, it stinks like a fucking rancid corpse. In
Point
here.
out in these
Several
movies, they acknowledge it stinks and then it never comes back.
No, it comes back constantly. Everybody's constantly doing one of these. Like so many times, people.
No, I meant like the character that did this. She never does it again.
She doesn't do it because she's probably like, I'm prepared for the stank. But every character that goes into that house.
Oh
is
no,
like,
no, I meant in a scene, not
in one scene. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm just like, guys, it doesn't just never mind. you need to act.
You need to be like, like every step you take. You're like,
I just thought Ellen, the principal, did a better job at like keeping up the thing.
I wrote down in my notes, Jason, Ellen, the principal, looks like Madison if she was 40 years older. That's what I like.
If she was 85 years old.
Yeah, if Madison just kept dyeing her hair blonde forever until she became an old lady. Yeah.
Yeah, so after this opening sequence, the monster attacks them, and we kind of went over that, but it cuts over to
her name's Amy Madigan, which sounds like Madison. Is that her? You're the time traveler who double fists McChickens, and your wife is the time traveler who stars in movies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I like to double fist McChicken. Michael, I don't think you were here for that yet, but I was playing TikToks on the pre-show, and there was this man who was just giving her on some McChickens. So we go over to the school. Jules Warner, I think her name is.
It's
like
3 weeks later, which is not
Julia
a lot of time,
Meadows.
but it's enough time for desperation to begin to whittle down a child. That's for certain, especially a child who has become accustomed to probably having to take care of his drug addict father, who has become worse and worse since his wife died or whatever. I don't know.
Who's now a snarling zombie demon man.
Yeah. But he's reaching the end of his rope. But I mean, kudos to him for still going to school. I guess because he's like, I got to keep up appearances. People are going to investigate my weird raccoon corpse filled house. He's also feeding them skunks and stuff. Like it probably smelled crazy in that house.
Crazy.
Yeah. Actually, really smart. If you really think about it, like just the amount of skills he taught himself through the movie.
True.
Down to even carving. He learned wood carving.
Yeah.
And corpse carving.
Corpse carving.
True.
It's called butchery.
There's another version of this movie where it goes on longer, and he maybe the character would have to be a little bit older, but he starts trying to get humans to
I
come
kind
into
of
the house?
appreciate the way that
Because he looks at that principal at one point like, do I have to get her into this house?
Yeah, I really appreciate the way they structured it, right? Because like there is a version of this movie where we see everything, but we are like questioning what this kid's logic is and why he's been doing this, and like why not just go to the police? Why not go to your teacher? Why not tell everybody what the fuck's going on? And then you do get that brief montage where they finally bring him to the hospital that shows you exactly why he's not doing it. And you immediately, like, your level of like, this kid's a fucking idiot goes down to like, oh shit, this kid just loves his brother and his dad, and he's like actually just trying to help them.
Also, he's like pretty intelligent to like.
Yeah, you think that he's maybe a moron, and then
it.
you're like, oh no, he's actually maybe the smartest kid.
He's
that
like
ever
set up
lived.
for it by all the trauma he's had before all of this too. Like,
Yeah.
I was a kid that was I don't have like this kind of trauma, but I was
You didn't have to feed your dad a hacked up skunk. Okay.
I was exposed to a lot of things I shouldn't have been exposed to, like as a small child. Like my parents were always partying and kind of talking to me like I was an adult. So going into my teenagerhood, I kind of had this like, what is anybody talking about? You know, like I can't relate to a lot. I did end up leveling out, you know, towards the end of high school. I sort of, there are people that also went through this stuff and are very realistic about it. But when you're exposed to that kind of stuff at a young age, you both probably know what I'm talking about. You sort of become wise beyond your years. And this kid obviously like was like, oh, it's just another drug addiction.
Yeah, they used to call me whiz kid in high school, but it's because I peed my pants all the time. I'm just kidding. About the nickname.
Are you?
It was different. They called me piss kid. Yeah. No, I get what you mean. And like this kid he's going through interestingly, she's talking about fairy tales and all this stuff. Like that's a very sort of thick theme throughout, which is then laid on top with, indigenous lore as well as mythology, and then, basic storytelling and fairy tales, where he is, he's even writing his own version of what's happening, but, in the guise of a fairy tale. But he is legitimately living one, right? Like a very scary, twisted fairy tale.
Oh yeah.
This was clever too. Like this is kind of what Michael was talking about, where they do bring up Aboriginal folklore for this segment. She's like teaching. She's like an English teacher, probably. Maybe it's not at that level, so it's just class, obviously. But she's teaching this class about Aboriginal storytelling, and she's going around the class, kind of asking people to tell stories. And then we get this like 1-2 punch of Lucas, tell us your story, and then he's bullied immediately, and then he tells a story without reading. He has
this happens later, but you are right. But this moment happens later. We get
is this with the monkey part?
This is the part where the kid who clearly has been held behind like 2 years, everyone's like a foot and a half shorter than him. But yeah, he's like dry humping a monkey, which I think is supposed to be Lucas's monkey, and he like stole it from his backpack or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he is like a classic bully in every sense of the phrase, where you're just like, okay, he's just
literally a redhead.
He is a redhead, yeah. But I mean, they balance it out by making the only other kid in the class who speaks a nice little girl who constantly wants to answer questions, also a redhead. And the one point where like he's like, he can't read. She's like, he can't. You don't see her say it, but you can hear her voice in the background. You're like, he can too read, which is like, yeah, like I was like, good for her. She's standing up for him. Yeah, but we then they go out. It's such a weird thing, right? Where I'm like, this, I guess,
so this
where
this
they keep their backpacks
that...
outside. They all keep their backpacks in like just outside the school. They don't have cubbies or lockers or anything. It's just like their bags.
This movie also does that thing that since I don't take the notes I used to take, that used to just be me prattling off, facts about the movie. Mm-hmm. It does cut back and forth a lot. It's one of those things where two scenes are happening simultaneously. So this has the thing that you just said. He goes outside and finds the backpack with his monkey in it, but that might
he put the monkey back in the bag. That's what he finds. I was like, what does he find in his bag? But it's just his monkey again, and that redhead starts dry humping the air. He's like, hey Lucas, boing, boing, boing.
Because I wrote down that like they follow the kid back to the plant where his dad died, and then he goes home. But then also, Felicity.
No, this is just he leaves the school,
Yeah.
and he is walking home, but he goes down the beach and he sees a skunk, and he picks up a rock, and then the next shot is him walking under a bridge with a fuzzy package in his hand, and you're like,
Oh, okay.
and I was like,
Yeah.
who is this psychopath? And like I had put together that this is the older brother, but I'm like, okay, is he twisted? Is he gonna go? What's the deal gonna be? Like, I wasn't sure where the movie was going yet, right? I thought maybe he was gonna go home and his dad was gonna be like crazy, but I didn't know he was gonna be like a monster in the closet kind of thing.
That's crazy. I looked away for 2 seconds and missed the skunk, and I was like, why did he pick that rock up? Okay.
Why'd you look away? You should have kept watching.
I just was trying to absorb. Like I literally like looked away. They showed.
You're like, I'm trying to absorb.
They
absorb.
They showed that skunk for 1 second. Like,
I mean, they show the skunk on the beach. He picks up the rock, and then the next shot is him walking in silhouette with a corpse skunk, and then he gets home and he has the skunk.
Yeah.
They show the skunk a lot, but also this is my point. That house smells like both dead skunk and skunk, which I assume is a really bad smell.
Surprised
Yeah, what
he
does it
doesn't
do with the-
smell like skunk.
He probably did. That's the other thing, is like he's probably in class. Like, it's probably one of the layers of him being bullied, right? Like, he probably stinks.
Well,
like he's
yeah. Oh, I'm sure he smells like something.
yeah.
They also
Um,
allude to like kids coming to class smelling like meth because their parents are
They,
meth
yeah,
heads.
I think the whole
And
town.
cooking
It's
meth.
not just a unique situation to Lucas, right? Like, it's like multiple kids in the class probably have something going on that they have to deal with, which is one of the reasons that they're probably like, we can't deal with everybody all the time. Like, we need hard evidence before we can do anything. You know how many kids we have to wash meth off their teeth when they come to school? I don't know.
Do you have either of you wondered how many police officers they actually have? Is it just 2?
Seems like between 2 and maybe a guy on the radio,
I'm just saying they never call for backup.
right?
The only time they call for backup is when they're calling each other. Which is like, I need backup, buddy. Where are you?
They do show crime scenes a
there were
couple
more
times.
When they were investigating the bodies at the mine. I felt like there were more people, but then
Yeah.
But then,
well, they have their coroner guy who is like, he's like, I don't know what to tell you, and he was there in the attic, and then he was also there in the mine. So they at least have that guy who's like the doctor. He's probably the town doctor, the town dentist, and also the coroner and the mortician. You know, like he probably does everything.
I was just, especially near the end when Paul's like rushing home, like, why didn't you call for backup?
Right.
I think the reality is they didn't pay for any extras at all. The actors.
That's probably it. But at the same time, I was thinking about it a little bit, but in terms of like storytelling mechanics, it didn't bother me that much, you know, where I'm like, it wasn't a huge weight on the movie. There's other things, Michael, that you pointed out that are much heavier weights. That I'm like,
the fact that I'm already pissed off that little things like this,
it's just making you think about the other things more. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what we do on this show. We're gonna pull it all apart. It's heavily implied in the next scene when Julie is like going home from work that she looks at the alcohol bottles longingly, like, we don't know about her trauma yet. So she's like,
They play that tune a couple times throughout the movie where she even goes to a liquor store, stands in line, and they're like, can I help you? And then she's like, what am I doing? And leaves, right? You're like, okay. So she isn't either like she's definitely a recovering alcoholic. You just don't know how long it's been since she's had a drink. I like to believe that she probably left because she went to LA, right? Like, that's her whole thing. She was like a teacher in LA. She was probably like
partying
alcoholic, and then like really cleaned up. And then when she cleaned up, she probably had enough time of clarity to be like, I really miss my brother. I should go back, and I need to really try not to like relapse while I'm there, kind of thing. Because like it might be difficult, and clearly it is, because everything she looks at in her house reminds her of hiding under the stairs, her weird shivering naked dad at one point, which I'm like, is that supposed to be her and she's seeing herself? Like there was like a Shining thing where you're like, there's 10 interpretations you can make, but it's so visually jarring that you're not really certain what it's
I
supposed
personally
to be.
interpreted that as they reference that he unalived himself. So that might have been his last like realization of all the terrible shit he did. But I like what you're saying, where like
he killed
it's like
himself recently in the movie. So like that
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, I'm like, either that's like a very literal thing where like she legitimately saw her dad having like a shaking fit after abusing her on her bed, and that's a memory that's burned into her mind. She was shaking on her bed naked, and she like projects him onto how she was acting afterwards, or this is just how she sees him, like a sniveling child who wasn't able to deal with things. And like anytime I would bring it up, like there's a bunch of different ways you can interpret it, but none of them were a crazy monster. It was always sort of like a
Right.
pathetic man, right?
I also didn't think about it like that. That's a really good insight. Like I took that very literally, but you're probably
I
right.
took it
Like
very literally, because especially later when he's like, "Oh, he broke my arm," and blah blah blah. I'm like, so he also sexually abused her and then just laid on her bed crying.
I think like the nudity was like where I'm like, okay, so that's where because you can always draw sexual assault at any point. All you need to do is have like a child shivering in a corner and like footsteps coming down in silhouette. That's like, that's enough for us to already make that assumption. But as soon as you have like a full grown man shivering naked on a child's bed, you're like, okay, I think that it was probably way worse than even what we're projecting onto it. And then you also have to think about like what the brother went through, because there is a moment where the brother is like, you have no idea what he did to me too, and you never get an exploration of that, but you can assume that he probably did something to him as well.
I already assumed that Paul had been abused in some way as well.
Yeah, I mean, he has like a bunch of idiosyncrasies that line up with somebody who's like, I have my life in order because I figured out my shit before. He did shit to me too, and like I like my pills to be over here hidden in a corner. And she's like, I thought it would be easier to find if you just put it over there. And he's like, no, I put everything exactly where I want it. And then he like moves a bunch of stuff and puts his pills like deep behind a bunch of other sort of like vitamins and like spices and stuff. Like he has his pill bottle hidden in a specifically weird spot.
Like,
yeah.
Because it's Jesse Plemons too, I was sure that he was going to be some sort of villain in the movie, which he isn't, save the last 1 minute. But like I thought that he was
even then he's still kind of a victim. He's not a
he's a victim.
He's not a fucking villain at that point.
But I thought that he was going to have something, but then I think the reveal that assuaged that for me was that he had to be in that household as well. And the kid, like when it cuts to the kid while they're talking, they're doing an exposition situation, telling us about their childhood. We see the kid like at home. He cuts the head off the monkey, which we find out later he does a dog poop thing to the bully with. And then we see for the first time him go to like the door, but we still don't really know like what's behind that door, which is also one of my favorite mysteries about this movie. I accidentally turned the movie back on to just like Bill fucking mutating, and I was like, how the fuck do we get there in 10 minutes? So it was interesting how they did a bit of a slow burn at the start of this movie.
It's crazy because like where we're at in the movie timeline wise, like I was planning on watching it with Danny, and then so I got up to this point, and then Danny called me and was like, do you want to watch it now? I was like, all right. So we went back, and so I watched the first 20 minutes again, but that's only 20 minutes into the movie. I mean, this is like a fairly decent length movie, and they ram so much like we know so much about every character already at this point. When he's like the door and he's like kind of freaking out with the door jamming or whatever, I'm like, I know a lot. Watching it twice in a row, I'm like, I know so much about all these characters that I feel like I can watch from this point on, and all the assumptions that I've made are probably going to line up and make sense perfectly if they tell the story right. And that's one of the reasons I appreciate the movie, is that I do think that every character acts accordingly to the things that they set up in the first 20 minutes. Like cultural appropriation aside. Like, I will keep saying that, Michael.
You're not wrong. Like everybody, I did say, like, I mean, the characters, I mean, outside of phenomenal performances, like the logic of the characters themselves,
yeah,
for the most part, maybe not the principal.
I just
but,
feel like I'm being Johnny
most
Holiday. Like, cultural appropriation aside, it's a pretty good flick. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I have issues with decisions made. Like I said, it's not just a cultural appropriation; it's picking on the poor people.
Yeah.
That piss me off.
Especially when it's a creature that is like, they could have went in a completely different way direction, but well, I mean, I guess we can keep picking it apart. That's the whole point of the show.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll have thoughts that I didn't realize until we get to it, right?
There was an interesting implication. Well, not really an implication. He pretty much says it outright. But I think Jesse Paul is like the sheriff, or like he's the head of the team.
He's the
for
sheriff.
police now.
Yeah, he's the
sheriff, and
yeah.
he has to go evict a family. And he's like, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. And it was left to me. And then I think the dad had that role before he killed himself.
Jason.
I thought that was
fucking what's his name? Graham Greene was
Graham
the
Greene was
sheriff.
the lead.
Oh, yes.
Sheriff first.
You're right. Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
The dad was just a twisted pervert who we don't need to dwell on what his job was. He was probably a fart detective or something. Like,
No, true. I misinterpreted that, and it is revealed later that Graham Greene's character was on the police force.
It's revealed in this very scene. He says it.
My bad.
Did you look away and plug your ears during this part?
Okay. My bad.
He says nobody was going. She's like, I can't believe that you ran for chief of police. And he says, well, nobody was exactly clamoring for the job after Stokes left.
Okay.
And his name is Warren Stokes. Yeah, his name is Warren Stokes. And
I misinterpreted all of that. I thought they were talking about the dad here. Like I heard all of this. I just didn't put it together.
Why would he call? Like, why would he say? Like, why wouldn't he just say dad?
I didn't know their names yet.
But if you're going to refer to your dad, you're not going to say like, why wouldn't Michael M. Waters?
I will give Jason a pass only because maybe their trauma makes it so they can't call their dad.
Right, so they refer to them by their full legal name.
I watched a documentary, a Channel 5 documentary called Dear Kelly, and his kids literally, like, it's about a alt-right MAGA weirdo who was like a cool dad, a fine dad, and they say his full name,
right? Mr. Stokes instead of just saying dad,
because he went weird alt-right. And
you can call me father, sir, or Mr. Stokes. It's like both of the other ones are weird, so I'll just say Mr. Stokes, I guess.
So maybe that was in my head, but then the next sequence is Lucas back in class. I already kind of explained it. He tells like a twisted version of the Three Bears.
It's quite cool though that he has a story that he's written, and he has it in terms of prose and language and suspense, and the way he's telling the story, like without actual words written down, and he's just looking at the pictures. It's like this kid. It's obviously sort of like an insert for like movie making, right? Because like it's almost like he's like he's telling a visual story. It's a really cool way to both visually and narratively through spoken word tell a story that I don't know if I've really seen it done in this way before. That is like every image is spookier than the last, and the fact that it's just him telling it. And everybody is enthralled. Like every single kid in that room is enthralled.
Even the
teacher is. And she's like, "Holy crazy."
So I'm gonna expose my movie slowness once again. Here's my line of thinking. He tells the story. Their insides turn black and they want to feast on meat. Oh, the dad and brother didn't die, and they're demons or something, or maybe a werewolf thing where they turn into reindeer. This is actually pretty interesting.
Love it.
Listen, Jason, we can forgive you for not knowing when to go.
When does Santa come to pick them up?
Yeah, I still think this is a fucking.
Well, here's the thing is, the thing for me, Jason, is that like I can forgive you for that because you don't really know what the movie's about yet. What I cannot forgive you for the fact that you just thought that they were talking about their dad in the last scene when they're talking about an established character that isn't.
I think you should forgive me because I
I'll forgive you.
I didn't cover my ears, but I like the way that they were talking about it. I like context clues made me think they were talking about their dad because they were also talking about their dad during that, you know.
Yeah, I think,
just
but I
makes-
think the purpose of that scene before is to show that he also has his sort of like eccentricities and idiosyncrasies and weirdness. That the purpose of that is to show that he is also fucked up, but also to show that like she is so uncomfortable even speaking to him that she's like fiddling with her orange peels and stuff and stacking them like during the conversation. It's all really like everything is awkward, and like, you know, when you're talking to somebody who you're not truly comfortable with, either you just met them or you know there's something that you need to discuss that's underneath the surface but you don't know how to bring it up. All of that is very alive in that from both of them, where he's like, he looks like he's about to argue with her but he's trying to not do it, and she's looking like she's trying to not invoke an argument.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
will say,
fucking great, man. It's a good scene, little
Clemons
scene.
was perfect for that role because that's one of his specialties.
He also has sort of this natural face of like, you can't really read. It's almost like a blank slate where any emotion that you need to be can just exist on his face, because it's almost like 10 emotions at once are already just naturally there.
Well, you can be so horror. Like if you think about him in Breaking Bad, he's such a terrifying character, but he plays it like he's like an idiot. But he's like a calculated, like stone-faced murderer who just presents this air that he's a dummy. So whenever I see him pop, that's the first time I ever saw him. So whenever he pops up in movies, in Black Mirror, and it just I always just get this like vibe from him. So that's when I saw him come on and he was acting weird with his sister, and they have this generational trauma and stuff. I was like, until he said,
like,
well,
he's
you don't
Play-Doh. Like he's like a director and a writer can take him and mold him,
just do whatever.
very easily. You know, it's not like
until he says that line,
piece of clay. It's almost like it's like Play-Doh, where you're like, I can use you how I need you to be. And like, I think that he's aware of that because he is so fucking malleable. Like he can be in so many different scenarios and do exactly
when he says
what
that line, you don't even know what Dad did to me. It chilled me to the core. Like I was like, I didn't even think about it before that.
Phenomenal.
So good. So good. Also, this little scene here where we get a glimpse of the dad's eye through the keyhole was also like very jarring.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
That's when I'm like, is this an Evil Dead movie? Are we dealing with Evil Deads? Is this gonna happen? And there is a little bit of Evil Dead, man, but because like the Deadites in Evil Dead, you can pacify them, and they can be a captive for a time when they know that the demon is trapped in them. They just need to like bite you or whatever to get the demon out. It had like a reverse Evil Dead vibe, where it's like, instead of the basement, they're locked in the attic.
But also a little Hellraiser, because the man's transforming in the attic. That's very Hellraiser.
Yeah, I mean that's also Evil Dead. That's every Evil Dead. They lock them in the cellar before they fully turn, and Ash is like, we're gonna have to kill them when they come out, and everyone's like, no, Ash, it could be my mom still. I was like, no, baby, that ain't your mom.
So yeah, it seems like Jules, the teacher, is taking interest in the child, follows the kid, takes the kid for ice cream. The kid is like, once again, wise. He's like, don't follow me around.
Follow me. Yeah, I was like, I love
also
this.
Also a good sequence, though. I don't know how you guys felt about this, but like, did you ever have like a teacher like express concern when you were a kid and try and connect with you in some way?
Not really. No.
I did a couple times. I think I was also just like a weird kid, right? Like I also drew a lot of weird fucked up shit, and people were like, is everything okay at home? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But they never followed me home and cornered me at an ice cream shop and was like, let me buy you some ice cream.
I got expelled from Sunday school because I was processing death and drawing weird pictures, and they told my mom that the demon or the devil was in me. So that's my experience.
I also got expelled
in you, Michael?
from Sunday school. Actually, now that you've reawoken it, I also was told, my parents said like, maybe it's not for him. And they're like, why? And it's because I kept pointing out inconsistencies in biblical stories. I'd be like, how can he be in two places at once? It doesn't make any goddamn sense. And they're like, stop saying goddamn. And I was like, God damn it, I'm allowed to ask questions in here.
I got kicked out of Boy Scouts because they didn't have enough crayons for everybody. So I broke each one in half so that everybody could have one. And then it said I was violent.
Whoa. Okay. Now that is.
And I to this day, I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. You were trying to literally share, which is like, was it Catholicism or Christianity or
that
something?
Just sounds like a very
because
smart kid being like, he needs a blue and he needs a blue. So
most religions
they both have blue. Yeah.
Sharing.
Boy Scouts. That's not religion. That's supposed to.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, Sunday school was the death stuff when I started to understand my grandparents were dead. But like,
then that's worse. The Boy Scouts are definitely about sharing and trying to find a solution.
We're out in the field and there's one cookie and we're all starving. I should share it.
Michael, I don't know. I know you're saying it's not Sunday school, but it sounds like you're a biblical figure. You're like, I can turn this one cookie into an army of cookies to feed all these Boy Scouts. And then Jesus said, let there be crayons for all. And he split the crayons 1,000 times.
And then you turn crayons into cookies and everybody ate crayons.
See, that would get me.
Why Michael got kicked out of the Boy Scouts as he was forcing people to eat crayons.
Yeah. That's the part you
conveniently their own volition. I just convinced them they were cookies.
Yeah.
That's the part you conveniently left out.
They're like, Mr. and Mrs. Chan, your son keeps making people eat crayons. And there's like a bunch of kids smiling with like purple and yellow fucking crayon wax in their teeth. Anyway, so they have a nice ice cream chat where she tries to, use her LA powers of like, this is how I used to interact with children in LA. I would be like, what's your favorite vegetable? Mine's ice cream. What's your favorite fruit? Mine's a hamburger. So which is like a good way to disarm a kid because you break down the logic and you get to the emotion or whatever, like, so that you don't have to treat them like an adult. You let them open up as a kid and they become comforted by your ability to be silly, and then you share something.
I know, but she's playing a little game that he sees through immediately. It's like,
well,
vegetables, donuts aren't vegetables, you idiot.
I think that you misinterpreted the scene because he actually does let it down, and he plays her game with her.
He does after a moment, but I just at first when he's caught off guard by the question, I think this is me saying that the kid is a smart kid. He's not going to fall for this trick. He ends the whole interaction by saying, "Don't follow me around, please."
I know, but the thing though is that she's not trying to trick him. That the whole point is that little kids will take things literal, right? Like if you say like, what's your favorite vegetable? And they say broccoli, and you're like, mine's donuts. Their immediate reaction is going to be like, a donut is not a vegetable. And then you're like, well, my favorite fruit is a hamburger. And they're like, that's not it. And you're sort of like, you're shaking the foundation of like logic so that you can open up to emotion. And like, that's what she's doing, and she succeeds because he immediately opens up to her. You can do the same thing with adults, because there are people that think like children and cannot, they're unable to break the foundations of logic.
Spider-Man's not a movie.
Okay, all right, Michael J. We're not going to talk about this again.
It was so good. But there is a bit of a revelation here where they both lost their he recently lost his mother, which do they ever explain it?
No,
I
think you see it. So they open up his report and you see that she is the emergency contact, and it says deceased, and I'm absolutely certain there's probably a cause of death in there, maybe, but like
probably overdose or something. Probably
actually why would there be? Never mind, it's a school report. They wouldn't be like cause of death, suicide, or whatever. It's
unknown.
Like Wendigo.
Yeah. But they both lost their mom at 12. She reveals that and that's sort of her connection to this, like the trauma that the kid has. It's a little bit different, or maybe it isn't. They don't delve into that side. But I do like, Steve, that at the beginning of the episode, you talked about the dad seemed pretty good and he was a caretaker. And I don't know if it was in that last scene or coming up where Paul basically says Julia's like, why don't you just fucking get this guy off the street? He's a fucking meth dealer. And Paul's basically like, well, he
not so
keeps
much
the
that-
kid from being put into the system.
Yeah,
He keeps a home for the kid. So like,
Absolutely.
I don't want to put him behind bars. We have cause,
which also humanizes him a little bit, but he also does say like, I have tried though, like, but at the same time, like every single time Child Protective Services comes in, they deem him somehow a fit parent. And it's probably because there are so few fit parents in this town that they're like, I mean, as long as he doesn't have loaded guns in the house, it's fine. He just has them in caves that the Child Protective Services don't know about. I had one more thing to say about that scene, but I don't think that, I think it's just going to be sort of redundant at this point. But yeah, like you said, Jason, he gets up and he's like, don't follow me again, which is like, he is absolutely aware of his surroundings at all times because he's killing skunks, he's finding raccoon corpses, he's probably picking off squirrels, and he's bringing food home for his dad. But he's also, I don't, you guys can just feel free to disagree with me, but it seems like to me he's giving the dad the meat, and then he'll have like a pack of rotting French fries or like a rotting apple, and he's feeding the kid vegetables and like proper food that has just gone bad. Like he'll find it in a dumpster.
I agree with you. He's taking care of his brother and definitely not giving him what the dad's eating, and finding whatever he could.
I was wondering about this too, because he very like you just said, in this next scene he finds like a dead fox or whatever, and we see him butcher it and feed that to the
raccoon.
But the thing so I thought it was bacon, and I thought he was feeding his brother real food, but then I'm now realizing that like the things he was pulling out of that styrofoam were black. The reason why I thought it was
rotted
real
French fries,
like rotted French fries.
Yeah.
But what I thought he was the next time he does it, there's like he's pulling things out of a bag. I thought it was like candy or Reese's Pieces or something. But that's a very good.
Like.
Yeah. So I don't know if the kid can eat real food.
I think this is where I'm going to draw a hard line with what I think it is. Okay. He brings the meat in, the dad smells it and attacks it, and is always distracted. Then because he has that styrofoam shitty fast food container, it's probably full of like a half rotted burger, like a couple bites left in a burger and a bunch of French fries. And he saves that after the dad takes the raccoon carcasses and is mowing out in the corner. And then he gives his brother the food that he knows is probably not safe for him to eat, but it seems like they can eat anything, and the brother is eating it. So like, he doesn't want to get his brother to eat the creatures, right? Like the things that had to die with suffering and like the desperation food or whatever. Like it's still desperation food, but in this case, it's like people threw it away because they couldn't eat it anymore. Whereas this is just like,
we had to scavenge that from the garbage.
Yeah.
So.
And like, he gives him an apple at one point and it doesn't look too bad, but you can tell that he's feeding him stuff that isn't as on the cusp of cannibalism, which is what the Wendigo is born from, right? Where it's like, as soon as you eat the blood of a human being or the flesh of a human being, that's when the Wendigo fully blooms. And that's what happens later in the movie. Like, he eats the principal and immediately turns into a full Wendigo.
A full reindeer.
A full reindeer. This movie should have been called Reindeer.
Reindeer Games.
Wendy the Reindeer.
Jesus Christ. It's like a twisted, like there should have been a book in this movie called Wendy the Reindeer that like is basically telling the same story beats, but it's like
I feel like that would be even Michael would have even more of a problem with it. I feel like what the heck?
It was written by an indigenous author.
It's called Wendy Go-Go. It's a stripper who's a Wendigo. Oh my God.
You know what? Let's just make our own movie and call it Santa Slay.
Yeah.
But slay, I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drag queens.
Still about drag queens.
Santa Claus. Yeah.
Drag queens.
Yeah. Santa Slay.
That's awesome. I love that.
Drag King Santa Slasher with with
the John.
Wendy
That's the
Go-Go
genre.
Wendy Go-Go plays Rudolph the blood-nosed
right.
reindeer.
Yes, and we have Wendigo reindeers. as
This club has everything.
well. This is going to
Um,
be a very confusing segment for listeners.
Absolutely, especially on podcasts. You're just listening to these words all in a row. The Julia approaches the kid's house. She kept following him, I guess. She doesn't know the kid has
No,
gone
she
off
knows
to
his
like
address. So I
find
think
some
she
meat.
gets there before him because she knows where he lives. Like she looked up his file and everything. Because he's still hacking remember when he sees the crows? This is probably the saddest part where I had this like sinking realization where I'm like, I saw the crows and I'm like, oh, he's gonna go find like a corpse and he's gonna like cut it up or something and put it in his backpack. And he does exactly that. But the one part that made me like be like, oh, he is super smart is that he has like a plastic bag to wrap it in before he puts it in his backpack. I'm like, at least he knew that like he doesn't want to dirty up a backpack or whatever.
Also, this is a great example of the sound design. Every time they have people go into this house, you're experiencing it the way they're experiencing being in this house, and they're hearing like a dull thud, kind of like groan coming from another room the whole time. And I thought that they did that very well, because when she goes into the house, she's like, oh, what's that smell? And then she makes it to the back room where it's like triple locked, and then she's like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna regroup.
No, Jason, no.
Yeah, that's what happens.
She goes up to the front door, knocks on it, the door opens slightly, she smells it and leaves. She does not go inside the house at all.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, sorry, I thought that she went in and didn't
You're
open
thinking
the
of the
door.
principal. The principal does.
The principal
but
goes in and opens up everything,
and she just is like, I think I gotta, I have a responsibility as the principal of the local school. What the fuck?
high frequent caller.
Hello.
Right, it goes over to her putting together the picture that got torn up, and then she starts having a dad remembrance, but it's the brother, right?
It's the brother? What do you mean? No, it's the brother keeps interrupting her visions or whatever of the past.
Right, yeah,
And
that's what I mean.
every time she's interrupted, it's like a horrifying dad moment, but then she sees it's her brother and she immediately feels like she's still petrified and sort of like mind melted, but she has a sense of relief that you can feel a tension of like she loves her brother and she trusts her brother, and there is this sort of like back and forth between them where you can tell that they really want to talk the whole movie, but it's only cultivated at specific points.
We're like seeing them get to know each other too, because she's only been back for a minute.
But you can also tell that they both really want to talk about it, and he keeps saying like, let's talk about it, and she's like, I want to talk about it too, but no. And like every time he says something that's almost like, even just like, don't move my pills, she's like, I'll be out of your hair, I'm gonna find somewhere else to live. And he's like, I didn't say you need to leave, I just want you to stop moving shit around, like that's all I want, right? And I think that one of the successes of this movie is that I was waiting for that moment where they do have sort of a real conversation, like a real heart to heart. They never really have it, but the collective heart to heart that they have throughout the moments, if you were to put them end to end, it is one conversation, that they do have a conversation from the beginning to end. It's just broken up into 11 parts in the same way that Michael watched this movie.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but like I think that like one of the most compelling parts of this movie is the fact that like you just want those two to actually share how they're feeling and work together to solve the mystery of who ripped everybody in half in this town.
Yeah, no, I do. I wanted them to not fully resolve everything, but at least have some kind of
an understanding. Yeah, exactly.
And move on to solve everything, which we kind of got near the end when they had their final team up.
Just after he's been stabbed a bunch of times by Antlers. Yeah.
Yes, that's
Get a
all.
bulletproof vest on.
Yeah. Maybe that's
Yeah,
how
they
came
got
up with
some
the title. They're
resentment
like, what are we
towards
gonna
each
call it?
other.
Rudolph the Blood-Nosed Reindeer. I don't know. There's like so many names. It's like, well, what about when he gets all stabbed by antlers? And everyone's like, antlers. Yeah, you know what? Antlers. Let's call it antlers.
Oh, I was gonna say earlier, I lost my thought, but I just regained it. They go out of their way to never say antlers in this movie, and I think that's by design. They hold up antlers at one point. Yeah. And I was waiting. I had my finger on the button.
Yeah, they're like, what is that? Like a buck or something? And he's like, nope. It's nothing I've ever seen before. Like the guy who was the sheriff of the town for fucking 40 years and has indigenous lineage and knows all the Wendigo stories. And he's like, I've never seen anything like this before. And then he goes and he does his research and he's like, these are fucking Wendigo horns. I never thought I'd see these in my whole life. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
But yeah,
yeah, it is the Van Helsing scene. It is the Native American character shows up to explain it to the audience, and you're like, oh, so this is the legitimization of the story, and not throughout the tale.
And never comes back.
I know.
I mean, yeah. There's definitely resentment between the brother and sister, and this is where we kind of find out that she left probably because of the dad and stuff.
Yeah.
And then also simultaneously, the kids preparing the meat. We get a better glimpse of the fiends in the attic because now we get the actual like feeding. We talked about this where he brings the meat and also like the fries.
Fiends in the Attic was the name of my high school garage band.
That's a good one. And Julia is constantly haunted by her father's abuse, which we see a lot of, and this is around the point of the movie where I was like, this movie is like an allegory for trauma, like everything about it. The third act is a horror movie, but everything up to that point is just like different ways to show internal pain and trauma, and
yeah, I mean, there's
a
also
lot of
like
metaphor and allegory.
Sort of, dare I say it, like rape allegory, like happens quite a few times in this movie. Which is, I think, underlying the fact that like her dad was clearly raping her, which is like disgusting. But like at the same time, she's here to face that. So a lot of her story is based.
But the story is told in a similar way to Alien. You know, like the horror elements with the like being taken over by an entity. There was a lot of parallels to Alien, I noticed, especially when she like fights the monster, like even on a more like surface level. There was a lot of Alien adjacent things going on here. She's not as strong a female character as Ellen Ripley, I would say, but she definitely does fist fight the fucking Wendigo.
She doesn't just fist fight; she uses a fucking spear, like ancient times. I think that was also supposed to be, indigenous visualization, or it's like this is how they would have fought in the like they have she's got a spear and like knives and stuff, like it's all like it's not guns and everything, but like,
do you think this movie would have been more effective if it had like a fully indigenous cast and not just
I think it would have been more appropriate. I don't know if it would have been more effective, but
I think more indigenous characters would help.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason why the character, couldn't have been indigenous, and she moved away and she became a teacher in LA. Why can't that family be indigenous? Why can't they don't necessarily have to be related to the sheriff that existed,
or even half, or something.
Like half the cast?
No, half indigenous.
Half,
like,
yeah, exactly. Her mom, that we never learned about, could have been indigenous, and she could have been a part. Like it, there are so many things.
I'm just saying they could have incorporated more aspects of it along with actors, and it's just odd to me that they made that big deal at the beginning only to have.
It felt to me like this is what it felt like to me, is that like when this movie was conceptualized, I think that there was probably a version of this where it was all a bunch of people who grew up in this sort of racist town where all the indigenous people had left and there weren't any, and so none of them knew anything about it, and the sheriff character was probably just some guy who's like, my friend around here, his name was Robert soft paw or something, and it would have been like some bullshit thing where it's like they're so ignorant to it that they can't understand it in any degree, and then the movie probably became too goofy or non-believable or whatever, so they needed to have that sort of like authenticity to add it in. Or there's a version where like everybody is, or like they're like you're saying at least half, or like they're all. But
okay. While I understand the Wendigo and the culture it comes from, the other way they could have gone really was to not mention any of the indigenous stuff and not have the bags hanging and just have monster.
Absolutely, and that's what I thought it was going to be. And then when we started to do it, I'm like, oh, they're going to have a fucking Van Helsing scene where there's going to be an indigenous person who comes in and he's going to be like, well, like this is the story of the Wendigo.
And not come back. It would have been nice if I don't know, he showed up for final battle or something. Maybe not get killed, but or maybe get killed. I don't know.
Sacrifice himself.
I completely agree. I think that like I typically hate the Van Helsing scene in a movie. I didn't find it. I did find myself rolling my eyes because I'm like, okay, this is making me feel uncomfortable, because it's like this is the only purpose of this character in the whole movie, other than like he's a hunter in the area. He used to be the sheriff. Like there's these levels that they try to make his character legitimized, but he is here specifically just for the scene to be like, here's the Wendigo. Yeah. That's why when we opened the thing, I was like, it's not too egregious, but it's still not getting away scot-free. Like we should still wag our finger at it and be like, no, you can't do that unless he's going to be a big part of the movie. He's only there to be the guy who tells you about the monster in the woods.
Had he, even though it's only one actor, had he had a bigger role, I would be a bit more satisfied. But no,
I do like that they got an actor who has been an actor for a very long time. It adds a little bit more not authenticity, but like it's like having Bruce Campbell show up as a cameo or something. Like this guy has been around forever. He's a part of my childhood. He's a part of almost my entire life as a Canadian film viewer and TV viewer. Like he has been around forever. So I did like that it was him, because like when I see his face, I'm like, he's my childhood. He was in so many of my childhood things that I
Michael,
loved.
I wanted to actually ask you, have you worked with Graham Greene?
No. I wish I had. I will say that because just as of any minority or marginalized community, you'll have your chosen few that make it, and they're everywhere and everyone recognizes them. It would be nice to also maybe feature some newer or unknown performers.
Sure, yeah. I think when you have like a younger sort of like ilk or whatever, if you want to have like a bunch of young characters, then sure. But like if it's an old guy, unless you find like an old guy who's been like an indigenous actor who's been acting for 40 years and he's not well known like that, I feel like that's gonna be hard to pin down. Maybe
there are a lot of indigenous actors who just don't get enough work.
There's two prominent shows that I've seen that I think you could put those actors in this cast: Reservoir Dogs and Echo, the Marvel show.
You say Reservoir Dogs?
Yeah. If you haven't seen Reservoir Dogs, it's fantastic.
Quentin Tarantino movie?
No, sorry, Reservation Dogs.
Thank you.
Reservoir Dogs? My bad. I misspoke.
Yeah.
I misspoke. Reservation Dogs. Fucking phenomenal, like dramedy about kids on a reserve. A lot of well-known actors in that, and the kids have now gone on to be in stuff.
Yeah, just
so Echo was a similar.
ATN shows, of which I am in one called Unsettled, can have that many indigenous actors. I'm sure there's one out there that could have done that role as well. Or, as I was saying earlier, I think maybe they should have had him, Graham Greene, and maybe a few more.
Maybe it's Graham Greene, and then
that would have been nice.
Guy that comes out and he's like, "This is my grandfather," and they're like, "Your grandfather's still alive? Aren't you old enough to be a grandfather?" He's like, "Yep, but he's still alive." And then he tells the story of the Wendigo.
I don't know. The principal could have been in it. I don't know.
Absolutely, the principal could have been, yeah, because
The
it would make
doctor could have
sense.
been,
It would make
yeah.
absolute sense for the community, the people who are community involved. So, like the police, the educational institutions, firefighters, paramedics, like the people
The
who
other
actually give a
police
shit.
officer
The other police officer could have been.
could
Yeah,
have been. I'm just one more, even one more.
it's true. There's only
Dan
one in the whole
McLaren,
town.
who was on Reservation Dogs and Echo, but he's also in Bone Tomahawk, and he's in a famous movie from like the 80s or 90s as well. But this guy's been working forever.
I
He
think
would
though
have
that
been great for
your
this.
first point
Longmire.
about like the wife who died, like she's not even on screen, right? The dad, Frank's wife, the mom of the two kids. Why couldn't she have been an indigenous person? And then this legend exists in their family as well. Maybe that's too much though, because then it like seems like it's part of them and not part of the community. I don't. This is like the balancing act you have to try and make sometimes. Where it's like, is it worth it, or is it like too much going to? It's like they're because they're indigenous, it's coming for them because they're indigenous, or is it like, I don't know.
So
I don't know. Anyway, I think that we're doing the rewrite thing, which is like completely valid and fair, especially for something like this that is dealing with stuff that is, that should probably be handled by the culture that like forged it in generations past, and not a bunch of white people being like, so how do we make this Antlers stab a guy?
There's the next little bit is that scene that I was talking about earlier where Julie asks Paul about the dad, and she reveals she went to the house, and Paul's like, you can't do that.
Yeah. You
and
need a warrant. You need to at least talk to me first before you go.
And the dad has been busted a bunch. And it's better to have him be at home with the kids than have him in jail and the kids, whatever happens to them.
Yeah.
And also, Lucas hears the brother being hungry, and then we get the great scene of him hunting small game, which leads to him. That's where Warren comes in. He sees Warren find a mutilated corpse, basically.
And I think this is the first time you see Warren.
It is, yeah.
But and this is the first time that I got excited during the movie, because I was like, oh, Canada, that's where I'm from. He's Canadian. I know him. He's in so many movies.
And then we get we get the sequence of Julia showing Ellen, the principal, like the drawings and trying to be like, we need to like check on this kid. And then we get that horrible, the principal just being like, my hands are tied. This school is supposed to be the safe space. Outside of this, we can't really interact with their home
we
life.
Also like get her admitting that, like, do you know how many crazy things that I have to deal with on a daily basis that are not just somebody smelling bad and having a bunch of weird drawings in there? Like, we have to clean meth off people's shoulders. Like, so like this school is not just this one kid is bad. Even that the bully kid probably like has a bunch of crazy shit going on at his house, right? Like, there's a reason he's a bully and has been held back for 5 years. So like he should be in high school, but at this point, but he's
they also
bullying on 9-year-olds.
They mention the little brother too. They're like, where is even this kid? Like, does he just stay home and he's running drugs for the dad? Like that happens in this town too.
During the ice cream scene, like he says like he just stays with my dad. Like, he has to be with my dad all the time. But that also doesn't seem untrue, because in the opening sequence, he is with the dad. And then he's like, we're going to go get your brother from school afterwards. So like, I don't know, man. All of this stuff is good to me. I think this whole like community evolution of like how the town works is like, it's enriching to me, where I'm like, it makes sense why these people are so shitty. Like, it's not that they want to be shitty. It's that the environment around them is so shitty that they have to be as good as they can within the shit without trying their hardest to not be shit themselves. They're like dealing with this horribly shitty situation. And like a real estate company is coming in just being like, yeah, we'll buy up your property for $400,000 even though it's worth $10. And people are like, okay, ding 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 ding, and they're moving out or whatever, right? That could have been a thing. I mean, they mentioned it on the radio a few times at the beginning. Like, Michael, like you said, it doesn't need to be there. But like, if that was sort of a prevalence there would be a reason for everybody being as shit as they are. But it's not about that, I guess. It's more about how to exist in a puddle, really. Like you wish to be in the lake, but you have to like crawl out of the puddle and flop yourself across this dry, rocky grit to get into the lake. And it's so hard. And that's what this town feels like, like it's like they were a lake at one point, but it dried up and they can't figure out how to reconnect to the ocean.
There's like a bit of wasted motion through that then, because as Michael has been saying, like either like bring up the Aboriginal indigenous folklore element, or like focus the story differently so you don't.
But I'm talking about the existence of the town itself,
right?
I'm not talking about like the movie as a whole. I'm talking about like how we see these people living in their own town, and like the principal wants to do something, but she's like, I can't. But then she does. Like the thing is that she does, right? Like we look at the principal in that scene and we're like, fucking, she's not going to do anything. And then she says, first chance I get, I'll call them. And then what do we see her do? She doesn't call them. She goes to the house. She goes right up to the house and she does the exact same thing that the teacher does, except she pushes it beyond and she's cutting through the stink and she goes up to the attic and
it made me sad. And like, she didn't really deserve to die, did she?
No.
In the context of this movie.
In the context of this movie, she shouldn't have died, but at the same time, in the context of your character,
saying doesn't deserve, I guess.
Doesn't deserve to die is correct, but she
died anyway.
She does the thing that behind your head, Mike. Heard noise, must investigate, and yeah, she died because she did.
Yes, that's the horror thing.
Well, I was gonna say this movie does the horror thing very well, like the empathy element of the horror. I felt empathy and dread through this whole movie based on the way it's shot, based on the color palette, based on the like the score. Just there's a great scene here where they find the body, they fully just show it, it's torn in half. They found the other half later in the woods. Like that gets your imagination
and
going,
like
or in the mine.
And then they show the body, they put the body back together and they do this like crazy shot where it goes up from the toes of the corpse and its body, like its legs are in like a bent position, but I guess they couldn't straighten it out. And it goes all the way up to the torso and then it slowly starts to reconstitute. And it's just clearly the actor like is there for the like, he's got face paint on or whatever. And like he's probably underneath this like gurney or whatever with like a fake neck on. And it looks so good. It's one of those things where you're like, oh my God, that is a good shot. Like they spent time and money on that. That's where probably like maybe like $15,000 to $20,000 in just that shot. I'm like, money well spent. It looks fucking good.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
This movie is a huge argument for like use practical effects for small things like that. Don't just CGI your way out of it or cut away.
You expect it to be like a waxy face or like a bunch of shit off or something, but it is just the guy there and he's just doing his best don't move your face performance. And it like I think I actually made the noise ooh. Like, I made a ooh noise. Like, oh my God, that's spooky.
But at this point in the story, they think it could be a bear or a cougar, which I thought was like...
No, I think they say it couldn't be a bear or a cougar. They're like, it could not be that.
Well, in the before they go to the autopsy, that's what the two police officers are sort of saying. But when the next... we do get the weird little moment where the kid's talking to his brother. Just before that, the kid's talking. He's like, God is dead. Daddy says God is dead. And it cuts to the dad who's like... articulating, and he starts to glow.
He's in
and I was
like a
"What
weird
the
prayer.
fuck?"
He's in like a weird prayer pose, but his arms are like bent
Yeah, they're
backwards around him. Yeah. It's
Which
not
is
like
awesome.
a hand to face or it doesn't look like a regular prayer. It looks like if somebody was like, do the opposite of a prayer stance. He's like, yeah.
But yeah, then we go over to the autopsy, and the coroner says that the bites seem human, and everybody looks at each other. They all give a knowing glance, like, what could that possibly mean? Cannibals? A
Which means like,
Wendigo?
well, what I thought it meant was that so the Wendigo that attacked them, right, probably died from the gunshot wounds, went into Dad, and then Dad was ravaged by hunger that he ate dude or ripped dude in half or whatever.
That's actually a really good insight. That's a good point. Because the mystery of the friend meth dealer is still kind of prevalent from
Well, he died before he could become like a seedling
vessel.
for Wendigo heart or whatever.
Yeah, I appreciate
like
that
I
this
still
movie
don't really
also
understand
does
it, but I did love like at the beginning, you know, when the kid goes in and you just see those like those little embers of like flame and like
Yes.
they're burning out. I'm like, what is that? And like that is prevalent throughout the entire movie, and you never really get an understanding of what it is or what it's supposed to represent. But like I think it is meant to be sort of a visual representation of like, you know, ancient technology. Fire was one of the first things that human beings ever learned to harness or whatever, and that's sort of like encaged in the Wendigo. But I do really like the idea of just sort of these embers like going into people's nostrils and mouth and stuff and being like, now you're a Wendigo.
Yeah, I did like that as well. I didn't interpret it like that till you sort of outlined it like that earlier in the show. But yeah, I like that. I like but just show like it's so visceral when they do that pan up. Like it's just I haven't seen anything like this as far as special effects go in like a while.
I mean, you can sort of figure out what it is, but it's one of those things where you're like, seamless though, looks great. Like, you know that's his real face, because that's not a wax man face. That's like a guy who's like trying to not like you know, twitch his eyebrow or whatever. Like, are you rolling yet? I need to relax my muscles.
So we alluded to this a couple of times, but this is the sequence where the teacher rolls up to the house. She hears this, she goes in, she covers her nose, she hears the sounds of clattering and banging from the attic. This is when I just like,
no, this
it
is
reminds
when Madison Van Wet, or sorry, this is when your wife shows up and
Amy Van Peebles or whatever you said.
Amy Van Peebles.
She the sound design for the clattering and the banging in the attic is going to stay with me, because it reminded me of like a Silent Hill or a Resident Evil
the
game.
name of my next screenplay.
The clattering. I'd watch that. Yeah, I loved this sequence too, because I literally yelled, "Don't go in there!" And then at the same time, the kids in class watching like a documentary on the projector.
Yeah, and the music is like it's going back and forth, because I was watching with Danny, and Danny was like, why are they watching a horror movie in class? I'm like, I think that it's just like a old, like it's just an old video, and the horror music is just the music of the movie. Danny was like, oh, that makes way more sense than them showing a bunch of 9-year-olds a horrifying movie with like ring.
But that shot of over his shoulder, kind of with the light like pulsating and like the sound,
and he's
perfect.
Zero way interested in the movie, like at all. Like he doesn't,
because he's got the carving in his hand. He's got the knife with the carving, and then at the end of the scene when Ellen gets eaten, it starts bleeding.
Well, he stabbed it into his hand. That's why.
Oh, did he stab it into his hand? I thought it started bleeding on his hand.
He stabs it into his hand. I'm like, well, why?
I think it's because
it's like bleeding.
Yeah, I think that he's trying to understand them, because like he's carving. I think he's carving what he knows his dad is going to be, and so he carved these little teeth into it. But at the same time, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if he carved something that, you know how he stabs his dad at the end?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if he stabbed his dad with the carving? Like that's
That would have
something
been
that my
rad,
brain
yeah.
was like, well, I thought that that's what when like why wouldn't he do that? Because that would show that he's like fully.
Chekhov's antler skull or Chekhov's knife? Sorry, Michael. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was saying, wait, isn't that his knife?
It is his knife. So he did whittle the knife that he used to stab is the so like it is sort of the same, but like to stab with the carving would be cool.
I agree with it. I just don't know if the carving itself would be enough to.
I agree, but I think that they didn't establish the knife enough for it to be significant either.
There.
Yeah. So like I think that the carving was way more significant than the knife to me. Because like it looked like he was carving what he thought it made me think that he saw the Wendigo before like because his dad hadn't turned into the Wendigo yet. His brother obviously hadn't turned into a Wendigo yet, but he somehow knew what the Wendigo looked like. So I'm like, did the Wendigo like drag them like to the house and then die? Like, does he know what the Wendigo looks like? Like, I had all these questions that weren't answered, but I kind of like the gestation and the ability to imagine what it could be, sort of thing. You know, that's my favorite thing in a movie is not fully understanding it, but being able to like speculate and then convince you guys that I'm right. Like this is exactly what happened. Yeah.
I was just gonna say the kid's imagination was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
But I
pretty
mean, and it could have even been like when he's writing those bear stories that he first was drawing them as Wendigo and then was like, people are gonna, this is too obvious. He's like, you're gonna turn them into bears and then later I'll show the Wendigos. But then he does have like literal pictures of them like splitting Wendigo horns out of their mouths, which is like he didn't see that, right?
But
like,
he does have the book on the spirits.
Oh yeah, he does, and he has the book on trapping, and he does.
Which he leaves in his desk.
He's got a Bible, which is when she pulls it out, I was like Bible, and then like a camera changes and it says Holy Bible, and I'm like knew it. And then she pulls out like several other books. One's on trapping, one's on like the Native American folk tales, or it's something like that, yeah. But he knows a little bit about it for sure.
Smart kid, really.
Yeah.
Also, the kill is
he's a monster boy, guys. Monster boys grow up to be monster men. I'm just saying.
I want a sequel where he grows up to be like
a Ghostbuster.
No, like Supernatural.
Yeah, or Tommy Jarvis. He's the Wendigo killer.
Oh my god. He just goes after all the bad things.
Yeah. And then there's a game where his mother dies and he has to run through a
Who's Tommy Jarvis? Man, my brain has gone blank.
Really? Tommy Jarvis is your fave from Friday the 13th.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You taught me about Tommy Jarvis. Yeah.
Because you guys were talking about TV so much that I was like trying to like slot it into Supernatural and Buffy. I'm like, which one of them is Tommy Jarvis again? And then it's like ding 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 ding. Right.
I really liked this kill sequence. It was the most horror shit I've seen in a minute because he bites her on the neck and blood goes, and then he bites her on the eyes. I think he just mauls her.
One thing that they did in this bite scene that like I thought was really sort of like disturbing was that he bites, and when he pulls, she like her whole body comes up. Like it looked like he had bit onto like a harness or something, and they like attached it to her neck, and then like it fell like as it ripped. Which usually when like shitty CGI, it's like, and then it just rips, and they'll be like, just mime it. But she got like pulled all the way up, like it looked like he grabbed onto like her collar of her shirt, but it was her neck skin, and I was like, that is very, very good. Like whoever made that harness or like came up with the idea to have like it was probably like a little bite clamp or whatever, right? Like he probably did pull her up with her with the teeth, but it was
like a harmonica holder.
Yeah, he went up and they left the harmonica in. If you go to the bloopers, it's like something piano man.
Well, they had a very tight budget, so they had to use what they could find.
They had to use the piano man harness, which was just in the
Yeah.
warehouse on set.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Uh,
The next scene is the cops going into the cave.
Well, wait, did we talk about how he burst out of his own skin after that?
No, we didn't. But yes, that is definitely the next thing that happens.
He eats the woman's neck, and then he turns into like a praying man. He does the praying man stance, but then his mouth opens, and you see a bunch of like twigs come out, and it's really gross. It's it's CGI, but it is.
I rewound it a few times because
It's
I'm
one of those
also watching
things
in
where,
real
like,
time right
you know,
now.
when you watch like a mushroom bloom in like hyper speed or whatever, like they film like a bunch of mushrooms growing like really quickly. That's how it felt. Like I don't know if you guys feel the same way about watching mushroom fungus grow in like a high speed camera or whatever, like, or sort of like a time lapse camera, but it really makes me feel unsettled and I want to throw up, and that's how it felt. I was like,
some of them,
I was like, oh, yeah.
What really did you say, Michael? Sorry.
No, I was going to say I know what you mean by the mushrooms. Some of those, not all of them, but some of them, I'm just like,
yeah, it freaks me out.
Some of the best effects I've seen. Like, this movie is good in that way.
Yeah. It did like some of it is not working, but like some of it is working so well that I felt a bit nauseous. You know, you're like, oh god, this is not good. Fungi.
At this point in the movie, I also just wanted to know why his chest was glowing. Like, that was very like cool.
It's magic, right? You're like, oh, there's magic now. What's the magic about? Yeah, me too. But I love magic, so like that's why I was like, oh, there's gonna be magic, sick. I'm so happy. But then like Michael says, is like, there's no, like, the magic is there from the story that exists, but there's no magic that combats it. So it's just like magic for the sake of magic.
Just a spear and a knife.
Yeah.
Well, and pulling that thing out of its, we'll get to that, but pulling the thing out of the chest was cool. I like the way it looked. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But the cops go to investigate. There's the call of the missing person. And then, you know, we talked about it a little bit, but he picks up the antlers, and these very noticeable buck antlers don't look like anything I've ever seen before, but I'm looking at it right now. Like, clearly they went to,
you know, it's crazy because even the indigenous cop who used to be the sheriff of this town is like, I've never seen anything like this either.
When I was watching the movie, I didn't have any like they took shortcuts or there was like low budget moments, but talking about it with you guys, I'm realizing that there are some real low budget moments, and this sequence is a little bit that, like, they clearly got
that low budget, Jason. They look good, like visually they look very good.
Explanation wise, or maybe,
but that's not low budget. That's just bad writing. This is
okay.
Yeah,
low budget writing.
Yeah. It felt more like speeded up. Like the movie's like speeded up, where we've explored so much of these characters that are important, and this is not important. But I also agree, it isn't really important because the story is not necessarily about the Wendigo. It's about what's going to happen to this kid, how this woman who has been sexually assaulted and abused over her life is going to deal with it, and how the people around her that she's made friends with are going to aid or abet and maybe die. And I think that's one of the reasons that Michael hates this movie, because he's like, I need more representation, which I'm realizing more and more as we go through. Like, it's pushing that character aside. This is the moment where he could be a main character, right? Like, he could be the guy who comes in to be the one who, like, but the thing is like, is it to the aid or detriment to the movie? I think it might be to the detriment of the movie, but it could be to the aid of like what they're representing in the movie. Like it becomes a different movie at that point. And it's like, what do you want to, which direction do you
have to be the main person?
I don't mean main, but I mean like he could be the no, I think the ultimate solve, what you said earlier, was that the other cop is also Native American. Like I think
That
that's
would have been
that's
the
like the
better-
ultimate solve of this movie. I think.
No, oh yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying, if we were down to just one and it was this character, the only thing they could have done with him was had him involved in some way after exposition.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, the other cop.
And then you like switch out the kill because like Jesse Clemens' character doesn't really add anything after he gets attacked, right? Like at all in the movie. He doesn't do anything except in the last seconds of the movie he coughs up a bunch of muck. So
Basically,
switch out those characters, have Jesse Clemens be the one who gets a jump scare killed, and then have him be the one that shows up to save them, and then he's the one with them for the rest of the movie. Like I think that's a way to balance it out. It doesn't fix it, but it at least tips the scales in another direction. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think that the Zan McLaren character that I was talking about earlier would be a perfect. He's played a cop in a lot of things, so he would be the great other cop who's like, yeah, I can attest to all of these claims that it's definitely the Wendigo. And Jesse Plemons' character Paul doesn't believe it, but Julia's all in as soon as she hears it, which we'll get to in a moment. This next bit, though, it was a cool scene because we finally see the Wendigo like in the light of day. That's another thing I love about this movie that you don't get a lot in horror. It's like a daylight, like a daytime horror movie for a lot of it. You get to see the monster in the light of day, and this next sequence is like the bully pulls up. He's like, "You put that shit in my backpack, you're gonna get your comeuppance," and the kid just turns around and tries to walk away.
My favorite part is that he drops an F slur and then it dies 2 seconds later. I'm like,
yeah,
boom. So you get in 2022, you gotta deal with that's the consequences of your actions.
I went, whoa, when he said that. But the Wendigo comes down from I think the trees or from the bushes and just starts mauling him.
The thing that I liked about this too is that it also solidified his belief that his dad isn't trying to kill him. It's trying to protect him, because it jumps down and he runs away pretty immediately, and then he watches it, I guess, like eviscerate him, right? And he's just like, and he doesn't run, and then the thing doesn't chase him. So it's like, all right, well, I think my dad still loves me, and all I have to do is bring people to the mine so that they can eat, and then maybe they'll turn me into one of them as well.
Which I think he kind of wants. Like, I think he wants.
I absolutely think he wants that, but
I understand the you stick by your family to a fault. That's why I thought that I thought he was going to start bringing this is after that element, but I thought at a point in this movie he was going to start bringing people back to the home, like a Twilight Zone episode or a Alfred Hitchcock movie where it's like the kid who's like,
okay, home. Grandma, we just got to get you to the mine. Like, the mine? I haven't been there since your grandpa was sexy.
But we get shades of that. We get shades of that with the kid getting home and seeing the blood everywhere, and then he starts cleaning it
all up. Well, I took that as like he's so used to having to clean up his dad's messes after being he's like a crazy drug addict, that he's like, I've done this a million times, and cleaning up blood is no different than cleaning up vomit or shit or whatever the fuck his dad got up to, which is really super sad. Like every time you learn a little bit more about this kid, you're like, holy shit, man, this kid is like, he's okay with cleaning up his dad's murder scene in the same way that he's okay with cleaning up his dad's barf.
Simultaneous to Paul telling Julia that Ellen has gone missing, and also then there's a scene coming up here in a minute where Clint, the bully's mom, is now wondering where the kid is. The kid's missing as well, and then Ellen finds, or Julia finds Ellen's car at the I don't know if it was at the house or nearby, covered over with the tarp.
It's parked right in front of the house.
Yep.
Yeah. And then they just fully go into the house and find the attic where Ellen has been mauled to pieces. She's in so much worse disrepair too, but it matches the body that they found and was in the morgue earlier. And The child's missing. The other kid is missing.
All right. You're also forgetting about the fact that they're like, what the fuck is this? And they
Yeah.
find
Oh yeah, the charred and flayed remains of the dad.
like,
Oh, yeah.
what is this? And they're like, that looks like a skull, and like it's like a skull that's like split in half, and they're like, it looks like something burst,
something
out.
hatched.
Yeah.
Which kind of happened. Wendigo hatched.
But I was like, so because I thought
body.
that maybe kid would have like cleaned that up or whatever too, or whatever, and like no, he left. I think he was just like he probably didn't even know what it was, right? Like he wasn't like, that's my dad. He was just like, what the heck is going on up here? But I think he also got caught before he could finish cleaning the whole house.
I think things were happening too fast for him.
Yeah.
It was catching up.
He's a little kid, and he did a really good job of feeding them for weeks. And as soon as it got out of hand, it's like, oh shit.
Can you imagine if like the Wendigo just popped out of the body and it was like, hello, my baby. Hello, my baby.
Hello, my ragtime gal.
Spaceballs. I hope the Spaceballs 2 equivalent of that is just as good. It won't be. It's going to be a garbage Lego sequel probably, but Mel Brooks is still alive, so who knows? Who knows? They do take the kid to the hospital. He's all messed up. The doctor is basically like, he's malnourished and he's emotionally abused and who knows what else. And Julia's like, I want to take the kid home, but Paul thinks they need to get him some help, and also he's going to grow up to be just like his dad. And now he's probably going to grow up to be a fucking homicidal maniac. But then one of my favorite parts of this movie is we get that flashback of the kid remembering the 3 weeks in between.
I mean, this is the best part in the movie.
I agree.
Yeah, I love this sequence so much because they don't do this. They don't do this in movies very often.
Presupposition, every assumption, everything that you've ever thought about both the kid's family, him, and the society all gets compiled into like a grain of sand, and you're like, it's so much more simple than I thought. But as soon as you drop that grain of sand, it explodes into like 50 other grains of sand. And you're like, it's more complicated, but it's way more simple.
But to boil it down, the dad comes home sick. The kids think that he's just heroined or methed out again. He's like, no matter what, I'm putting these locks on the door, and he's like freaking out while he's doing it because he's starting to like change. His head.
He wants to eat them, probably. I guess
he's probably hungry for a child. He puts these locks on the door. He's
that
like, no matter
Jason's
what.
Nickname in high school. I'm just kidding.
Come on, Jesus Christ.
I'm just joking.
Wow.
He puts these crazy locks on the door. He puts like 2 or 3. One's like a lock. One's like a nail through like a lock hoop, and
but it's also like a train track nail.
A train rivet.
But I think it's supposed to look like biblical, right? Like there's a biblical aspect of this as well, which is like, okay, those are the spikes they put into Jesus, and now it's the spike holding this guy back through the door.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
But then also like the brother gets sick, and he's asking his sick dad, like, Dad, Aiden is sick too, and he's like, let him in, and then he lets him in, but then when Dad opens the door, he's like, he looks like Gollum, like his hair is all gone, and he's like, he's freaking out, and to Dad's credit, he doesn't grab them and like bite them. He grabs Aiden and pulls him in and says like, shut the fucking door now. Like he has like a moment of like, if he's sick, we can't let you get sick as well. And he must have known, right? Like the sickness came from the mind. He was in the mind. Like,
he knows.
Yeah. So this is what I mean by like, he wasn't a good dad, but he's a good dad in the moments that matter, which is all of this. Right. And there is an argument to be made that when he eats that bully, that's still him being a good dad. He could have eaten,
being protective. Yeah.
He could have eaten Luke, but he ate the bully instead. Right. Where it's like, I have this ravishing hunger, ravishing. I have this ravenous hunger that I cannot stop, and I'm going to eat someone, and I keep following my son around, and I'm going to wait until someone even like just looks at my son the wrong way, and I'm going to eat him, which is like, good dad behavior. If you're a monster, that's how you protect your kid. It's like a lion almost, or like a,
Yeah, but they follow him for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, the whole time, and it gets good. And like, there's like this moment at the end where like the dad uses the same trick like twice in a row, And I'm like, there's no way they're gonna. And for some reason, I'm like, that's rules. That rules that he got 2 guys in a row in this. Like usually that would be very boring in a movie, but for some reason I was like, I love it. I love the fact that he got one guy and then he used the other guy as bait and then got the other guy again immediately. Like that's good. That is good. But yeah, I think it's the best part, especially like you get to see this kid who has been this muted sort of, you know, genuinely unsettling child through the entire movie. Everything he does, you're kind of like put off by, right? Like, which is just showing that this kid is a good actor, because in those moments where he's, you know, like screaming against the door and then it shows him finally clean, like you haven't seen him clean ever the entire movie, and he's looking out the window and he's thinking about it. You're like, oh, this kid went through way more than we assumed. Like in our brains, we're like, these guys came back as monsters and they went into the attic, but he had to like witness them become monsters and had to start killing animals to feed them and stuff.
Like at every step of the way too. And
you're also like, what did he
also
eat?
like,
you know, like, did he also eat fucking skunk and shit? Like, what was he eating? I don't know.
They say he's malnourished, so he had to come up with something.
3 weeks is a long time to not eat. So he was probably eating, he probably cooked it at least. Like he probably cooked some of that skunk and raccoon meat or whatever and ate it.
Then we get
and he was like, the schools provide food. And I was like, what? what state are you from?
Yeah. You still have to pay for it. Oregon's a pretty liberal state though, so maybe they have a food program, but it's never mentioned.
That's what they say in Oregon. They're like, in Oregon, we provide organs, and they like grill up raccoon guts or whatever for their kids.
We get Warren does the exposition dump here where he sort of explains that it's a Wendigo. Look at this book with this clearly currently
I don't know if
drawn
we need
image.
to talk about this scene again.
We don't. He provides the rules, weaken it and kill the heart, and Paul seems skeptical. Then the next body they find is Clint, the bully, and this is finally when they're all like confused. Is it a serial killer? Is it an animal run amok? The deputy, like the other guy, not Paul, is like, what the fuck is going on? And Paul just straight up doesn't believe. But Julia fully buys in. She's like, oh, it's a Wendigo? Perfect explanation for what's going on. Then they rush back to get Lucas. And Julia tells Lucas that her dad had killed himself. Oh, I thought they had talked about that earlier, but they have another like heart-to-heart moment here.
Wait, right? Yeah, you need to. Okay, you're getting too like this is a very important part.
Right? No, sorry. I
know, but
yeah.
Sometimes you get so into revving the motorbike, like you're doing like dirt bike jumps, and like, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then you like go over top of a thing that's very important.
Sorry that I jumped the shark.
This is Jason.
When did it go?
Go. So did I get through the whole movie?
Sorry, what'd you say, Michael?
This is how I know you two have been doing this a long time. When you have these like married couple discussions,
in
the middle of a show.
195 episodes, brother.
So, the important part, everything you were saying caught us up to where we are, which is now that she has hit. They've been in the hospital. They've gone through the conversation with the doctor. They know that he's been abused, and both Plemons and Russell have spoken to each other about how he's abused, and they've also had that moment that we spoke about earlier where she's like, I remember like having to wait hand and foot on him, and she never really says like he fucking like she never says anything about it, but then he says, you have no idea what he did to me, which then sort of like it takes her from here to like there where they're like almost on the same level of like, she's like, oh, I never actually asked you about what happened to you. And I think that's pretty clear, right? Like, where he also went through something, and it's very possible that he also went through sexual abuse as well in the same exact way, because these people are not, like the people that do these types of things are monstrous. They're not like being like, I'm only gonna abuse my daughter. Why would they stop there? They're gonna abuse everybody. But he is saying you cannot bring that into this, because I think that when he's saying that, he's like, I'm not fully removed from my own abuse, and you're trying to bring him out into your life, so he's comparing himself to her, right? So like he is still feeling abused, and he knows that like I couldn't raise this kid. Why do you think that you could? And she's like, well, I've worked with kids for years in LA, and I think I could do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the movie is definitively trying to say, but I think that he is saying that like he doesn't trust her because he hasn't gotten over his trauma, and maybe she actually has, but I think the movie is saying that she has not. She has not at all, because every time she sits down at a piano, she gets molested by her dad, which is like, that means that you're still not over the trauma. But the movie is saying that the two of them together are stronger than them being separated.
Yep.
Right? Like they have to work together. So he says, yeah, and then they decide to bring him back to the house. And that's when she decides to reveal the whole truth, which is, my dad also died. I never told you that. And he's like, well, why didn't you tell me? It's like, well, it happened recently and I hadn't got over it yet. She could have used that as the intro in the ice cream shop. You remember when she's trying to, relate to him? She could have been like, my dad died a couple of weeks ago. But instead she says, my mom also died when I was young, when I was 12. And he's like, I'm 12 too. And that's how she meets him on that equal playing field. And then this is her trying to do the same thing, but he doesn't know that his dad is dead yet.
I want to point out something important about this scene too, where Julia is like, your dad is dead, and Lucas is like, my dad's not dead. He's still he's just my new dad. He's just my new dad, and we have to feed him now.
Well, that's what I was about to say. But yeah, okay. There you go. Yeah, that does happen in the scene. So he doesn't understand, because in his mind, dad is still dad. It's just a metamorphosis of dad. Whereas she didn't have that, right? She sees her dad as a monster. The monster's dead. This kid sees his dad as someone who cared about him that has turned into a monster, and he likes the monster. Like, he wants to be with the monster. And she can't have that. I think that's the point. But I could be wrong. I don't know. That's how it felt to me, is like his dad literally went from a human being into a monster, whereas her dad went from a human being into a monster, and the monster died and she's happy. This guy wants to see the monster be the dad. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. Did I watch this movie wrong? I feel like I watched it right.
I don't know if they went that deep, but I could see it that way. Yes.
All right.
No,
So then the monster shows up.
Okay. Well, the next scene, this is like, that's kind of the act break into the third act, which just it becomes.
This is the moment where you get to take a breath, and then you get the guy walking around.
Yeah.
The house being like, and then he's
which
like,
is awesome.
I think ET's in the hut or whatever. Yeah.
They do this exact same scene 2 times in a row, and normally I'm like, that's just the same scene twice, but this it's very effective, because it's two police officers go to this like shack, and both times they see a kid in a box covered with a blanket. The first cop goes in and he looks around, and he gets gored from behind as soon as the kid.
Hold on, Jason. This is the great part about this. This is the scene from E.T. Have you guys ever seen E.T.?
Of course.
So you remember when Elliot goes to the shack in E.T. and it's like the most exciting, scariest shit you ever saw when you were 8. This is they're recreating the scene from E.T. and you're like, what's gonna be in there? It's not gonna be E.T. It's gonna be a fucking monster. And then when the cop goes in, it's actually a cute little kid inside like a basket being like, and the guy's like, there's a kid in here, but like a very cute little boy, and he looks okay. And then all of a sudden, like his chest explodes everywhere. And like you said, Jason, they do it twice in a row, but they change the expectation at that point where now we're like, this guy is dead, and he's not going in there because he heard a noise. He's going in there to investigate the corpse. But you also expect that the kid maybe is going to attack him or something, you know, like you don't know what's going to happen. You don't really know what's going to happen. And then the exact same thing happens again. And you still kind of get like,
cuts to Paul rushing back because they call him. They're like, something's fucked up here. And he rushes back. And like you just said, like he does the same thing where very slowly he walks up to the shack.
Did you expect the same thing to happen, or did you expect something completely different to happen? I thought something completely different was going to happen, and it was the exact same thing again. And I was like, "You got me twice. That's a shame on me."
But
it's like, "Get me once, shame on you."
But
twice, shame on me.
They do something different. They make it very clear that Paul has a bulletproof vest on, and when he gets gored, he doesn't get gored directly to the back. He gets like knocked over. But also, like he hits his head. He's bleeding from his head, but he survives. He's alive, which was a very different thing, a very different outcome. But the scenes, I could not believe that they got me twice with the same scene. I can't believe that they built the same suspense with the same scene twice, because we've seen this in horror movies before. Where they basically they're lazy about it and they just do the same kill.
But this is like they were kind of aping the idea of same thing. Like and I don't like to use that term lightly, but like they set it up so well the first time that they're like, we're gonna do it again, but your expectations for the movie so far have been pretty wide. You're like, okay, everything so far in terms of spooky mode is good, so you expect something completely different, and the fact that it was exactly the same made me be like, respect. Movie, you did the same thing and I got spooked again.
But then also Paul's situation is completely different. He like gets knocked over, gets knocked out, and he wakes up to getting attacked more, which I thought was
but that's because he didn't die. The other guy died.
Thing for me that was interesting was to see just how strong the Wendigo was, that it could go through everything and rip him out of it.
I also like that, like, because
he like pulls him against the wall and almost through it.
The first hit, he misses him, and then he just like he goes to the side and it flings him across the whole room, and he's kind of knocked out. Where he's like, "What just happened?"
Kind of makes me wonder why the Wendigo doesn't go through windows.
Maybe that's why they're called the Wendigo.
Oh. No, seriously, like it's like, oh, we're gonna hide in the house. You see a Wendigo literally rip a wall off of a cabin, and it doesn't go through the window. Because that's actually one of my thoughts when protagonist lady and Lucas were hiding in the house. I'm like, the thing's gonna come through the window.
Yeah,
the door. She's like, the door's locked, and I'm sitting here going like, yeah, what about your windows? The thing's gonna come in your windows.
I was also at the point where I already truly believed that it was protecting him, so I was like, it's not. I didn't think it was ever gonna hurt him because it's his dad, right? Like, there's some sort of like weird energy inside of him that's like, that's my son.
But I didn't say attack him. I say come for him. He could have gone through the windows.
Yeah, absolutely. But like maybe like he also knows if I break through this wall, I could accidentally trample on my son. So I'm gonna make sure everybody on the outside is dead first, and then I'll wait outside, and then he'll come out and be like, "Dad," and you're like, "I'm the
Either way, the thing is a lot. The thing is super strong.
Yeah, he would be like, "Welcome to Wendigos. May I take your order?"
Oh my god. Say, ma'am, this is a Wendy's.
It's a Wendigo. That's fucking really funny, actually.
Is it? Should I make
laughed.
Like a Wendigo? Like it's Wendy's, but it's a Wendigo thing?
Yeah.
It's a Wendy's. Wendy's go.
Yeah.
That's what the drive-thru should be called. Wendy's Go.
We've got a special on chicken nuggets tonight.
They're made of raccoon meat. It's raw.
Welcome to Wendigos. May I take your order?
I have a couple of things to add to the short list. Not the short list, a long list of shirts. So after all of this goes down, Julia finds Paul, and it's like, we got to go to the final showdown. And they head to back to the mines, and she heads in. It's very suspenseful. There is a lot of this movie does suspense really well. Like, there's some thriller elements going on in this movie, which I really appreciate.
I mean, most horror movies that are good do.
Yeah.
Thriller movies are the best movies that exist, in my opinion, because you're thrilled. It's literally in the definition. But I would say that, like, this movie, the last maybe like 25 minutes, very thrilling. Like, everything is everything that's happening is thrilling. Yeah. I love that Jesse Plemons is like, "You're not going without me," and then she like still drags his ass over, and then it just like cuts to the. I don't know if he was in that car or not. Like, there's no evidence that he was or wasn't. Is there a moment where he's like, they don't stop, like, right? She just goes right to the mine. There's no moment.
No, yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
We can believe that he was in the car with her, or we don't have. There's no moment where they talk. I don't think.
No, but she radios into dispatch to let them know that the sheriff is in the car and to get him at the mine.
Okay, so he is with her, but we don't see.
He is with her.
Yeah,
He's
but
in
we
the
don't.
car.
Okay.
And she radios because she tells them to go to the mine, which means he has to.
You know what? Yeah, that's better, because like he already gave the amount of information, like the emotional reverence has already been there. So another scene of them being like,
I'm pretty sure he's probably cautious at this point in the back of the car, like,
yeah. We need a scene where he's like, "Take my gun, shoot him in the heart. That's what the Wendigo would want." And she's like, "What? I don't know what you mean by that."
And it's awesome when she walks in. I love a movie that returns to the scene of the opening sequence, It returns to Oz, if you will, like Steve just said. And when she walks in, it's badass. Like, she's ready to fucking fight. And the first thing she sees as she walks in is a Wendigo just eating a dog.
Yeah.
That's not the first thing she sees. Don't even try, because this is one of the coolest shots of the whole movie, is that she comes in and she's like using that flashlight, the opposite of what we saw in the opening sequence when they walk into that mine with the fucking flare and it's like lighting up everything. She's just hitting darts of information, and then it goes into the corner, and the two kids like ding 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 come up. But while you're watching it, you can see in the corner just these two little spikes, and I'm like, whew. Like, the fucking Wendigo's in there. And then they're like, and I think Lucas like looks in one direction, and that's when it pans over, and it's just the Wendigo eating someone. I don't know who it is. It's probably one of the many people that.
No, it's very clearly a dog.
No, it's a bear. It's a bear.
Or a bear, yeah.
It's a bear. I was like, who's it eating? It's the sheriff guy that we were like, he should be in more scenes. He's like, oh.
And then the literal next thing we see is it turn its face, and it's got the dad's face as a fucking dead skin mask hanging in front of its face. And it like takes it off to be like, ha, surprise, bitch.
Well, it takes it off after she attacks it.
Right.
It seems like it's never been attacked, probably, right? Because like, even when the cops were fighting it, no one ever really fought it. Like, they just lost. Like, it would just kill them. So it had this thing on its face that was blocking its vision. And as soon as it gets attacked successfully, it's like, what the fuck? And then it's like trying to clear its vision and like just rips the face off. Because that's the face of the dad that it spawned out of, right?
Yep.
And
Wouldn't you do that if you had long hair in your eyes and everything you did was so cool, and then all of a sudden, like one time you got fucked and you're like, I need to see better. You probably move your hair into your eyes, right? Like that's what it's doing. It's moving its hair.
This is also the like one when she 1v1s it right after this. It reminded me of like Ripley going up against a xenomorph in Aliens. Like it felt very like.
Well, that's because every time you see a woman fighting something intense and cool, you think of Alien, Jason.
Aliens.
Oh, Aliens. What about Alien?
I call it the moment of badassery.
The moment of badassery.
That happened in this film. It's the moment of badassery where she fought the thing and then.
Yeah. I think I said it earlier where I'm like, oh, they're doing a thing where it's like she's using a spear and she's, it's supposed to be almost like they're in a cave and it's supposed to be like a cave painting, like they found a cave painting of somebody fighting a Wendigo or something like that. That's what they're trying to do.
A worse movie would illuminate that cave painting on the wall behind them. But a better movie would also do that, but have the whole rest of the movie.
A worse movie would have just had the picture of a cave painting of people fighting a bear like over and over and over throughout the movie. But
a better movie would have had indigenous people in the whole movie.
Yeah, I think we've gone through how this movie could have been better in terms of what it's trying to do, but I think that having her kill it and then not have just her kill it, but her weaken it and then the kid kill it and then her aggressively cut the heart out and rip it out. And I was like, the whole time she's ripping it out, I'm like, that thing's probably hot. That's probably hot. And she does do it eventually.
Just a second. She fires a clip into it, which has a really great moment cinematography wise, where the flashes, cinematically, where the flashes of the muzzle flash are illuminating up for like a second. And then it gets weakened. That's when she goes toe to toe and stabs it. And then, like you said, she gets it down and she's like carving it. And then she pulls the like heart lantern, I guess, for lack of a better term, burns her hand on it. And I thought she was going to stomp on it for it to explode and smash. But when she gets it out, she realizes, when she gets it out, she realizes the Wendigo's already transferred somewhere else. And this next moment she
realizes it. I think that she thinks that she's accomplished the goal. Like she thought that cutting the heart out was all she needed to do. And then she's like, and she looks at Luke, and then you start to hear the like beep, 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 and her face drops, and you're like, oh my God. And then I'm like, Keri Russell, good acting job, because she went from like happy to like, oh, absolute fuck.
Yeah,
I have to.
I don't know if this movie needed this, but like, I kind of like that they did it, but at the same time, like, it's almost too much for me. Like, because I'm already at this level where I'm like, I've experienced a lot of emotional grief for these people and everything that's happening here, and I kind of just want these two little boys to be okay. And the fact that now they're putting this other thing on me, I'm like, well, we already killed the dad. Like, do we have to do this? I don't know how you guys felt about that.
I felt like a little bit too much throughout the entire movie. I kept having the feeling like Aiden was not necessary
until this moment where you're like, oh, I see why he's here now.
Yeah, well, I was like, I felt manipulated because they're using, I mean, there's already one child, right, Lucas?
Right, yeah.
Now they're using an even younger child who's sick and all this, and I feel really bad. And then at the end, I actually, that upset me because I was like, oh, you set all this up so that there is one final emotional moment of choosing to have to murder a child monster.
Right.
And it bothered me. It bothered me a lot because that feeling of manipulation, that feeling of the writer, I could feel the writer's pen.
Or they're like fingers in the back of your head being like, get out of here.
I'm like, you know what? No. no, that you guys took it a little too far here. I think if Aiden didn't exist at all, the movie would have been the same. That's how I
so this
that.
is how I don't disagree with you, because I feel like Aiden existing is maybe important, but I do think that at the end of this, like they didn't need to do what they did. They could have done a million different things with this, and it wouldn't have been as sort of disturbing and
Maybe
upsetting.
he becomes not sick anymore. Like
I think
cured?
that if you can get through a movie without killing a child, it's probably like a better movie by the end of it, especially when like it's just there to manipulate you into like feeling an emotion. But I think that the movie would have been kind of dumb if it was just him feeding his dad, because it would have been like a dog or something, you know. Like I think that having the little kid there during those feeding moments is very important, but I think that at this point, either when when she kills the heart, he dies, like he just falls over dead, or he comes back, and instead of it just being Jesse Plemons at the end, it's the kid, and that's the end. Like the end is the kid, like and like he's bloody or whatever, and then you know, like you can, your mind goes wild on that. But like having her stab the kid to death or whatever is like, that's kind of like that is mega manipulation, where you're like I'm only imagining everybody who has a child is gonna feel disturbed and upset by that. I am disturbed and upset by that because I like this kid. The kid is cute and he's eating French fries the whole time, and you're like, I hope this kid gets through the movie, and then it's like, oh no, he's got a glowing heart now. Okay, so we got to kill him
again. That's the thing, right? Like if that was the end game, it bothers me.
If you thought that was what they wanted to get to, yeah, I think so too.
I feel by the time you get to that death, I felt like the whole point of the kid was just that.
You're also a little bit emotionally exhausted from what's happened in that scene previous, right? Like
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that.
No, I think I'm just agreeing with you. That's what I'm trying to do. I agree absolutely with you 100%.
But you're not wrong. Like if the kid was there and then it ended differently, I would have been happier. Yeah. I just at this point I'm sitting here going, what?
It is weird to have that kid the whole time and then just kill him at the end. And I guess the idea is that Lucas is supposed to be now unbound by everything, and he's free, and we can take him into the real world beyond his cold town that has choked and died or whatever, and we can
need therapy for life.
Yeah. I mean, they say that on the beach. Remember when he's like, he's a wolf raised by wolves, and what do you think's gonna happen to him? And it's like, okay.
Well, those two need therapy too.
Yeah.
They all need therapy.
That's the next town has a therapist. The therapist is like on the streets being like, I used to be the therapist in this town, but nobody believes in therapy.
It's also the doctor who's the dentist.
Yeah, I'm also the therapist. So
the next movie is just all of them in therapy.
It's just what? Sorry?
Next movie, the sequel is all of them in therapy.
Yeah.
And then one of them becomes a Wendigo, and then the therapist has to treat the Wendigo now, who's a
It's like rubbing its hooves together, like as it rubs its hooves together, is like sparks, like hellfire, like.
And then by the end of it, the spirit is it feels a little better.
Yeah,
a little Wendigo.
Well, I think we got to the end of the movie, guys.
Yeah, there's that last little scene where they decide to keep the kid. Paul makes the point that there's no telling what's going to end up with the kid, which we already kind of talked about. That's kind of his like stance on the whole thing. And then right as the movie ends, he looks back over his shoulder at the camera and his eyes go yellow. Like Thriller. Right. Yeah.
But he's
that's the movie Antlers
coming out of his mouth, like
yeah. Vincent Price laughs and everybody cries. I do agree with you to a degree. About like using the kid for emotional manipulation, but I did really like that like realization that she has to do it. and then she kind of like tells the kid to like look at the ocean while I fucking
It's like
finish
look at
you
the
off.
wall while I shoot you in the back of that. I just
Yeah,
I think that
it's
moment,
tropey. It's tropey.
it is tropey,
The
but that
acting is
moment,
great though.
the acting was
Yes.
good, yeah. And also even the little kid was doing a sick job
Oh,
of
they're
like
all- yeah.
like he's like as she's hugging him, he's like and like he's like screaming and like the noises that are coming out of him, like obviously that's not just the kid. They added some deer sounds coming out of his mouth or whatever, but
So,
it was
it's
good.
It's good work. It's just
I just think that it didn't add anything to her character. I think it added something to the kid's character, because that was, the whole movie is just him trying to protect his little brother. I think like that was sort of like the byproduct. He was feeding his dad because he's trying to protect the little brother. So I think that's what it was. But at the same time, like at this point, we've all kind of put that aside. Maybe just as soon as the heart dies, if they can somehow stop those little sparks from going into him, then he dies too. And like maybe he just falls over dead.
Yeah.
We don't need to stab him to death. That's fucking wild. What crazy. Even if it's off screen and just in our imaginations, I don't want to imagine like a little tiny little weak boy getting stabbed to death with a knife. That's too much. Too much for me, even.
Well, should we talk about our final thoughts and our Home Alone at all and our ratings?
Yes.
If you had to pick one,
Well, what do you think the Home
when
Alone of it
is
all?
the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone?
I really gotta
When's the
know.
Home Alone?
When
Is the Home Alone of
What
it all?
is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
See? It
See
is
what?
a Christmas movie.
Oh. Yeah.
Michael, you've only been here once before, I believe. So just to reiterate the Home Alone of it all, it's essentially we posit that every movie has sort of a moment akin to in the movie Home Alone, where Kevin McAllister slaps down the blueprint to set up the Nightmare Hall of Fame to kill the wet bandits. We've sort of figured out that every movie sort of has that sequence you're there to see. I think that this film has it in spades, and we'll get to that. But basically what I'm asking you for right now, Michael, is your favorite part of the movie, which is typically what this, or favorite sequence of the movie, which is typically what the Home Alone of it all is, your final thought on the film, and then your rating. The rating can be whatever you choose. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, but the floor is yours to tell us about your final thoughts and your Home Alone of it all and your rating.
I mean, I just really enjoyed the final 10 minutes of the film prior to murdering of a child.
Yeah.
That whole ending part, I was waiting for something like that. And it did not disappoint, from just lighting and the tension to the battle and the Wendigo in full and the mask on his face, and just that is my favorite part of the movie because it's so freaking good. You know my thoughts. There's a lot that pissed me off, especially for a movie that looks this good and is produced this well. It upsets me that it fails where I find it to be most important. And if you want me to rate it, it's 1 Indigenous person out of 10.
Holy shit. Well,
I mean, there's only one in it, so you're right.
That's the point.
well, thank you. How about you, Steve?
I mean, mine's also going to be 1 Indigenous person out of 10 as well, but I'm also going to maybe try and fill in some of the blanks of why I liked it first? I think that it tells a lot of story in terms of what we sort of understand as storytelling. Like it is just a storyteller's sort of like a crust of a story is there, and everything that you want to be in a story is also there. I like that it is a kid who he misunderstands the world, but he has a very clear vision of what the world is. That's why Luke exists. We have the character of the teacher. Sorry, I forgot her name. Paula Abdul, is that her name? And she understands what it means to take care of a kid. But the whole thing is is this what it is? Is this sort of like the idea of like a North American telling a shitty sort of like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears story, but they hold on, Jason, can you go first? I think I need to like constitute my thoughts here for a second. I feel like maybe I have like a good thing, but I don't know. And if you come back to me and I'm still like this, I don't know.
All right. Well, you think about that for a second. My Home Alone at all this week was definitely like the third act, like when it becomes like a full-on slasher, like monster in the woods story. I really enjoyed when the horror is dialed up in this movie. It excels. It performs best. Final thoughts wise, it felt like a movie. It was scary. There was great gore. The setting was like really well presented for the story that was being woven. I love horror in the daytime. That's one of my favorite tropes that isn't done often. The only other movie that I can really think that does it well is Midsommar. Just off the top of my head. Maybe I haven't seen enough. There's some decent lore, but you guys have kind of turned me around, especially Michael. I didn't think about it the way that it was presented to me from Michael's point of view, and I really appreciated that. I really wanted to appreciate the indigenous folklore, but it's like devoid of context and depth. So maybe that's a strike against the movie.
It is, yeah.
And there's a bit of a twist at the end. There's a bit of a cool little like, the move to a new host, and I thought that was fun. And I don't have any real critiques because I was pretty into it from start to finish. But it did have some dragging points where they could have used that wasted motion, as I said earlier, to talk about. And I didn't really know how to articulate it when I first thought about this, when I first was thinking about my final thoughts. But I think it really is, again, what Michael is talking about, where if they had just taken a little bit more care with the fact that the Wendigo is a very integral part to a lot of Aboriginal and Indigenous storytelling, but then they whitewashed the whole thing, I think that is a strike against the movie for sure. I loved this movie, though. That's the thing. I was captivated from start to finish, and it was a breath of fresh air as somebody who's relatively new to the horror genre. It just had so much that I appreciated and loved. It's kind of funny how some people, the reveal of it being a Wendigo, some people obviously were like, nope. And some people were like, yeah, obviously. And mainly Julia was like, yes, of course it's a Wendigo. What else could it possibly be? That's a kind of a strike against. In a rare situation that never happens on this show, I don't think this has ever happened. I initially rated it at a 4 out of 5, but I've bumped it down to a 3.5 out of 5 because of its insensitivity and its lack of care. I also give this movie 1 Indigenous person out of 10.
Oh. Okay. My favorite part of this movie is absolutely when Luke tells his story. when he's flipping through the pages and everybody in the entire room is looking at him and being like, oh, he can't read. And they're like, no, he can read. And then someone else is like, well, let's let him read. And then there's that kid that's right in front of him, right? Looking down at his pages, and he's flipping them. There's no words on those. That kid, at least that kid knows that he's just making the story up as he goes. But that kid also knows that, like, don't fuck with Luke, because like maybe Luke might be insane. I think that, like, have you guys ever felt sort of like shit upon by the you know, like your classmates when you were young, you know, like did you feel that pressure?
Yes.
I know I did. And I think that this movie kind of like elevates itself to that point for me, where I know what I'm supposed to be looking at is egregious and bad, but then there's this one thing that I kind of like laser beamed through the middle. And the cinematography is amazing. The color correction, great. The music is good. Everything is amazing. I'll say like that from the moment that kid is like ding 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 when he's like hitting the rod on the beams, and like there's a beam in front and it's out of focus and it's moving I'm like, I think this movie's going to be good just based on this opening shot. If any shot in the rest of the movie looks like this, then I'll be fine. And I was the whole time. When I got to the end, of this conversation, I think that Michael, you sort of like splayed my brain, where I was like talking and it came up, you came up behind me, and you're like, my head, like, I'm like, it's still good though, right? And you're like, no, it's not. It's bad. Stop saying it's good. But I don't think that I fully have convinced myself that it's bad. I will say that it's absolutely bad in every way that you have said it's bad, and I will agree with that. I think that is absolutely fair. This movie should have been made by people who can handle this type of lore more delicately or more intricately or more interestingly even. But I think that the movie itself deserves a little bit of recognition as something that, as maybe non-interesting to you as it is interesting. It's cool. It looks cool. It has an interesting story. It tells a story about like a little abused kid, which is still important, even if it's not a little indigenous kid. Maybe it could have been more.
My problems also with the punishing of the poor, right? But,
absolutely, yeah, for sure.
The ignoring of the opening theme of taking what's not yours. But I want to reiterate that I think that production quality wise, right, this movie is a work of art. Beautiful.
Well, I agree there too. I also think there is something to be said for the story that is.
Oh, there are good parts. Just, like I said, I'm annoyed.
Sort of
very annoyed.
All right. If I had to give it a rating, I would give it a Rudolph the Blood-Nosed Reindeer, because that's what I thought it was when I walked in.
Well, I think we had a very constructive conversation about that. What a great polarizing movie for all of us.
This is like the opposite of last week, where I was Michael Chan and me and you, or you and whoever, or Ben. I was like,
whoever Ben. Yeah. Well, let's we can get out of here, but before we do that, let's talk about our plugs.
Ooh, does anybody have a plug they want to show?
All right, let me just plug this in right here and
Michael Antlers. Also, I didn't point it out earlier, but I realized when you did it, I didn't call attention to it, but what a fucking, it's way better than mine. Michael Chandler's is hilarious, but tell us about what you have going on. Like, what do you got to play?
First and foremost, obviously, listen to Heard Noise Must Investigate, part of the United Federation of Podcasts Network.
Michael, can I come on that? I have to interrupt and ask. Can I be on one day?
Yeah, when I finally get around. So when I started the podcast, I asked a whole bunch of people to be on, and I still haven't had a single guest yet.
Well, you never asked me. I'll be on.
Yes, please come on when I finally get around to it. My thing is,
kind of come as a package duo, so I'd also like to.
No. I don't want Jason on. If I'm going to be on, Jason,
I will have everybody from the UFP on eventually. The reality is this: I didn't expect myself when I started this. I know my target when I started my podcast, which is a horror podcast that does talks about horror, reviews, not just about movies and TV, but all sorts of things. Like at one point I talk about a horror Polly Pocket. But the thing is, my show originally was targeted at 30 to 45 minutes, and now I am basically 20 minutes and under. And that has worked very well for me. I have the shortest podcast, but also the most easily digestible podcast on the network for anybody looking for something short and sweet, which is why I'm going to have to figure out, and why actually I have been hesitating to bring guests on just yet, because I need to figure out how to keep it within, say, under 25 minutes if I have someone else. I just don't know how to do that yet, so I'm working on it. But I think if you're a fan of horror, and don't want to listen to my voice for 3.5 hours,
what are you talking about?
All right, how about this, Michael? What if I just tell a story? Like, it'll be like me just telling a story for 22 minutes.
Oh my god!
Like those like. And then they heard the drip, 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 and then the dog.
I already have an episode coming up that I'm planning right now to bring on a guest. Basically, it's favorite horror episode in Star Trek. And that's it, right? Like, I give one
favorite horror episode in Star Trek. Oh my god!
Right?
That's such a good question. Yeah.
Right.
There's so many. Like, there's so many horror.
There are. So one for me, one for her. That should hit about 20.
Mine's the episode of, I think it's Deep Space Nine, where Neelix gets his lungs removed, and he's like, you remember that? Where it's like, that's horrifying.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I have to find ways to contain the conversation within the framework. But
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I that's my podcast. If you want to watch me on TV, definitely check out Popularity Papers on YTV, Stack TV, Hulu if you're in the United States, Nickelodeon if you're in the UK, or Italy. No, Italy is Europe. So Italy, UK, and we are dubbed in Italy and in France. Actually, we're dubbed in French over there, and we're also
I do all the Michael Chan dubs in French, by the way. It's me.
We're on ABC in Australia, and if you fly Emirates, we're on there too. But yeah, it's a wonderful show based on tween graphic novels from author Amy Ignatow. And I play Alex, who is the father of one of the main leads. And the cool part is my character is gay. So it's she has two dads and we adopted her. And so it's a rare thing to find in a family show, but I think the show does it really well. We don't really focus on that thing. It's just a part of life, as it should be. So check out Popularity Papers. Also watch me in season 2 of Law and Order Toronto, season 4 of Star Trek Discovery, season 18 of Murdoch Mysteries. I am in 3 episodes of Mayday. I'm in season 3 of Surreal Estate. So yeah. Oh, and find me online. All of my all my handles are the same. It's at Michael CW Chan.
Thank you for your time, Michael.
He's got the biggest body count of ever being on TV and film, I think, of all the people we've ever had on.
And we appreciate your time.
It's so fun to have you,
great.
man. Like I
Yeah.
can't believe we only had you on one other time. It's so silly, but I
We
think
got to
it's
work on your 5 times club body
Yeah.
count.
I also like how aggressive you are when we talk about things. You're like, hold on a second, I need to kick you right in the balls. I'm like,
It's
okay,
great.
all right,
I
Michael, what
actually
do you
also
need
love
from me?
Steve, what do you got cooking up on the old stove back burner, buddy?
Well, I mean, as I say every week, I'm on Darth Theorist, the podcast, and the Three-Eyed Theorist, the podcast. We're growing slowly. We're going to take over your internet. We're going to take over your radio, your toaster. You're going to start getting toast that comes out with a little three-eyed raven burnt into it. And they'll be like, what is this? I'm like, it's the future, baby. But yeah, I'm doing well on the internet, and I hope that everybody can keep watching. I guess I could. Can I do the Stanland? Am I allowed to do the
Yeah,
Stanland?
Stanland's airing right now. You should.
Stanland
play
is airing right now, and it is a big and fat and sexy thing that
got
I
a
do.
huge dong on it.
From WSUS Raleigh, I'm Milo Goddard, and do I have a story for you? In the fall of 2022, a podcaster by the name of Melanie Hughes went missing. A few weeks later, by the side of a road in Poolesville, Maryland, a digital recorder belonging to Melanie was found.
The wardrobe is a portal?
Yeah, though technically the portal was there first. Mom built an IKEA wardrobe around it. It's the Floriden Flula model. Some of these changes, wow, not sitting good with me. Everything's a little too modern.
So let me understand, Zingia was a simpler place, but in the past 12 years, it's become Myrtle Beach?
I am Azran, king of Zingia, hence retired. Now I rule nothing. I forgot to introduce you to my guest.
Bobby? Look, I'm bringing this dump into modern times, and you morons are gonna help me.
We're stuck here as his servants unless we find some other way out.
I suggest you head to the dreaded dungeons of Chiorotha.
He's called the Dark One for a reason. Dread spreads across the land upon his growing shadow, or something.
Hello, guests. Greetings. Come in. Come in.
Get me home, open the portal, get us both home. Me and Melanie, I'm done.
You're not going anywhere.
Stanland is a 5-part audio fiction series featuring Bobby Moynihan, Ray Seahorn, Steve Little, Tim Sharp, John Hamm, John Waters, and more.
You're not going to want to miss Stanland. Available this summer on the Sonar Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now.
Episode 2, I'm in. Episode 3 just dropped this week. In episode 4, apparently I'm in as well, which is good.
Amazing.
That's incredible. Well, thank you, Steve. I'd like to tell everybody about this podcast. It's called Hey, Did You See This One? You're watching it right now. You can find us each and every week right here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch at 8 p.m. every Thursday. I know it's Wednesday. However, this week we did it a little different. But you can also find this podcast in video on demand form right after the show airs. The audio version goes up over the following weekend. The video version goes up over the following weekend. And we have lots of YouTube shorts that I've created. Yep, created them just like
Jason created them by himself.
Mom and
with
Pop.
his own fists, I think.
No, I didn't. I used a service for that, but that's okay. They do very well. However, I'd also like to tell everybody about the fact that I am the announcer. I'm the voice of Super Kicked Wrestling here in Toronto. We have a show coming up next Friday, a week from 2 days from now, on the 22nd here at the Great Hall right here in Toronto, where, you know what I do? I say the names of the wrestlers louder than anybody could ever conceive. So I'll say things like the following.
One time I conceived it and I tried, and then I heard him do it, and I was like, I couldn't even have conceived that shit in my own head.
And I say things like the following contest. I say things like the one fall. I say things like from Mobile, Alabama.
One time I heard him say, "Who took my pants?" And he was wearing no pants, and I was like, "What is he doing up there?" But he was wearing other wrestling pants underneath, and I was like, "This is amazing."
Introducing Fresh Phil.
I did get to introduce Fresh Phil. I got to introduce a whole swath of YTV people. The Paul, I think his name is
Michael
and
Chan.
also
This is gonna sound racist, but what if we put you up against remember Phil, PJ Phil? What if you and Phil had to like fight each other in the arena?
I would totally take him on in a wrestling match.
Yeah.
And just so you know, we have the same agent. So
what? Wow. Really? Oh my god.
We know each other. Okay. So I will happily learn some wrestling moves so that Phil can beat me.
So that you can have to kick your ass.
Yeah, so you can do the job to PJ Fresh Phil.
I will
I will paint like little marks on your head. You know, he has like all the rings.
Yeah.
Like he punches you in the head and you come out and you have all like
he
all
was
the
my
rings.
hero growing up. I would gladly do the job for him.
Awesome. So yeah,
how old is he now? Probably like much older than all of us.
He's over 50.
Yeah.
He doesn't look it, but
he's kind of a weird guy
he's
too.
in great shape. So
yeah.
Listen, here's the thing. We also have a whole line of t-shirts that Steve Waters has very humbly drawn.
That's me. I did that. I did these.
You can get the Grimoire Familiar Killers.
Ooh.
You can get, Killade. You can get Twinkerbell.
Yeah.
Zardos. Corporal Tunnel, which we put up for 500 subscribers on YouTube very recently. You can get that on a t-shirt. The Howie Mandel Effect, huge hit with the kids. And coming soon, the Eldritch Millennial. You're going to be able to get this on a shirt. Complete with a signature. So look out for that.
Look how cool my signature looks in that cover there.
So
it's awesome.
Is that a cool signature? I thought I made like a cool signature.
It's very good. And this was conceived of very recently. So
yeah,
it's truth to action. Also, here's a picture of whatever this is.
I also that's not a picture I've drawn, but that's a picture that I evoke in my mind every night before I go to bed.
Yeah, it's what I use, if you know what I mean.
I'm like, if I wanted to fuck a robo butt, what kind of robo butt would I fuck?
Robo
Chris Murphy.
Oh shit.
Alex Murphy.
What a callback. Steve, I'm gonna need your help for why can't I scroll down? Hey, talk amongst yourself for 1 sec.
So Chris Murphy was I think Alex Murphy's child. Is that Chris Murphy?
Have you seen the RoboCop video game?
I played it. Yeah, I love it. I
good?
like it a lot. Yeah, I like that you can give tickets out. Like you'll be like, this needs to be solidified. You can also like if you see a car that's parked slightly askew, you could give a hard ticket, or you could be like, I'll give them a warning, and you can like, write a note on the hood instead.
But there is one question that needs to be asked each and every week. Michael, I think it's the name of our show. What I think you need to ask this question for us right now.
Hey, did you see this one?
Do you guys like jokes? I think Michael Chan has a joke to tell all of us.
Do I?
I don't know. Do you?
Are we still on the air?
Yeah, we're waiting for someone to tell a hilarious joke.
I mean, do you want me to tell one that I've told that I think is funny?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I saw in the news a guy drove his expensive car into a tree. What a great way to learn how his Mercedes bends.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And take a peek into the darkness with Heard Noise, Must Investigate with Michael Chan. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mainer Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.
Yes,